Hey everybody, it is RambleCasty time. April 6th. You know how this goes. Corbin's here with us.
I am. I'm almost overdosed on Allegra. And still a little sniffly, but it's fine. Hair is still the wrong color. I haven't had time to fix that yet. That's fine.
I don't see why you should fix it. I mean,
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's not what I was going for, but it's like,
I think it's a solid choice.
Yeah, it's not like I burned it all off in a horrific accident or something. It's fine.
So I will say now that you've mentioned burning it all off, don't go bald.
No, I know for a fact that would not work for me.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who are very hot when they're bald. I know for certain I would not be one of those people.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just looking at you, I feel like bald doesn't
No,
doesn't fit.
fully agree.
I'm still, I don't know, part of me, I've toyed with going, just trying out bald to see how it goes. And seeing as I wear a beanie all the time anyway, I'm not sure that would really be that big of a sacrifice to try it.
I wouldn't tell. I wouldn't be able to tell.
But yeah, part of me just curious what it would be like, because all my life I was never willing to try that. And then just like all of a sudden one day it's like, I think for the hell of it, I'm going to try the beard. Let's see if this is a good or a bad idea. And so I grew the beard. Everybody but me seemed to like it. And yeah, so now I'm like, I wonder, should I try the bald and see how it plays out?
Perhaps.
Maybe. So hello to Austin.
Hey.
And I know I definitely did not read this wrong, but I want to say I'm going to call your current name Elon Invented Edible Tweets.
Edible, yeah.
I feel like that is a way better. I just prefer that.
The tweets really taste like snozberries.
I think the tweets get him high. And let's be honest, that might actually be true.
I do have one thing we can start the show off with, perhaps.
Oh, are you trying to swindle us as quickly away from Elon Musk as possible?
Yes.
All right, go for it.
I do not like that person.
I still want to talk about that though.
Okay, well you can do it after I leave.
Oh wow, Corbin's trying to avoid getting on Elon's radar.
Yeah, I mean honestly, like that's a dangerous game. You get those like psychopath Elon fans on you.
For what it's worth, if you haven't noticed, I think the RambleCast audience generally not big fans of Elon's. So
no, I wouldn't get it damaged here, but you know, there's always the chance that one of them will be looking through what's live on YouTube, and then they see me and they decide to end me.
And for what it's worth, I did not set anything about Elon Musk as a tag or title.
We're doing anti-SEO for Elon. I like it.
Something like that, yeah.
Stay out of their radar, yes.
No, I went with the much more vanilla topic of Plex, which was the only other topic I came in with anything prepared for tonight.
Yeah, we can talk about Plex after this.
Yeah,
I wrote about that.
I figured that's about as safe as it gets.
Yeah, like who doesn't love... Well, I know a lot of people who don't like Plex anymore, but that's fine.
Oh wait, Arthur? Really?
Yeah, there's not everyone likes all the stuff Plex is doing, where they're kind of like, you know, it's not so much about hosting your own content anymore. There's all the extra stuff they add that doesn't really have anything to do with that. But
yeah, okay. Well, yeah,
I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's like outright hating, but yeah. So Google kind of surprised everyone. They announced some changes to the Play Store, where starting November 1st of this year, and I put this link in the Ramble in case you
yeah, no, I already have it up and shared.
Yeah, so starting November 1st, any app that is not on an API level within 2 years of the most recent version of Android will be hidden for everyone not using a device like matching the Android version it was built for.
Okay.
So yeah, so you know, like this kind of surprised me because like Apple's done these sort of like App Store purges pretty often. Like when they made everyone switch to 64-bit only, they purged all the 32-bit only apps. You know, there's been other migrations like that. But Google has never really done that. Like as long as whatever app is still complying with Play Store rules, like if there's nothing like illegal in the app or something, Google's pretty much just been leaving those alone. Like I have a couple apps I made like 8 years ago that are still in the Play Store. No one uses them, but they're still there.
Yeah. No, and I, yeah, I approve of that. Somehow I missed this story, but
Yeah.
yeah, one of the biggest complaints that I saw, certainly with Apple's practice, is there were things like games that were perfectly. There was no reason the game would not still play on devices way older, or sorry, way
Right.
newer and older, and yeah, they just kind of got purged because they hadn't been updated in several years. So they
Yeah.
just kind of got swept up and killed off for no good reason, just because the developers basically weren't around anymore or were bored of trying to
Yeah.
support the
Yeah, this is the classic argument of like, does software always need to be moving or not? And it seems like, as far as the mobile world is concerned, the answer is definitely yes. Especially on the Apple side, and now apparently on Android. But yeah, so I guess November 1st we'll just see a wave of apps no longer available. They're not like totally pulling it. Like, if you have an app, if you're on a device that like matches what the target API is for an app, like if the app was made for your Android version, you're still gonna see it, which I assume is mostly for like OEM apps that have been updated through the Play Store, and stuff like that. So it's not like totally, deleting everything, but they're definitely like, these apps won't show up in search, or like will be able to be installed on the devices that are newer.
Okay, that's where I was about to ask that. Kind of both of those things. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so not showing up
Well,
in search totally makes sense.
I'll read the short paragraph that like says that explicitly. Google said, starting on November 1st, existing apps that don't target an API level within 2 years of the latest Android release version, major Android release version, will not be available for discovery or installation for new users with devices running Android OS versions higher than the app's target API level. As new Android OS versions launch in the future, the requirement window will adjust accordingly. So the new users part in there, I guess, makes it sound like if you bought like an app or a game a long time ago, you'll still you'll have access to it.
I'm also noticing a technical workaround. If you can find a device that matches the API level, you could then set up an account on that device, buy the app, and then go to a new device and also install that app at that point. So you have a workaround path.
Yeah, maybe.
It presumably, I mean, that, at least judging by this description, that seems to be how it would work. So I'm okay with it, in the sense that this does allow you to get old apps through some hacky means. It's not ideal for sure, but it's kind of workable.
Yeah, I like the part of me that writes about Android changes for a living is like 110% on board with this, because Android apps have been so abusive with API levels. It's incredible, right?
Oh yeah.
Like when I cover this, I mentioned, like the absolute best example of this is Snapchat, which famously stayed on the API level below Android 6.0, so it could bypass the like, do you want to give this app this permission prompts that were added in Marshmallow.
Yeah.
Right. They stayed below Marshmallow for years, and that's why Google eventually was like, okay, you need to, when you're updating your app, you have to target a newer app version. Like, it was pretty much just because Snapchat blew it.
Yeah.
But also that was a good reason to do that. So
yeah, other apps were doing it. That's just the high profile example that finally forced Google's hand.
Yeah, so there's so many examples of that, and that's also why like I'm still pretty on board with scope storage as a concept. Like, even though like there's issues with it, I'm like, yes, most apps on my phone do not need to see the files on my phone. I agree with that. But Yeah, so that's part of me, but the other part of me that likes playing old games from time to time is kind
Yeah.
of annoying because like it's already really difficult to archive mobile software, especially on Apple stuff. Like
Oh
like
yeah.
Apple's been nuking the App Store constantly. It's been a lot easier on Android just because of APKs. And app bundles kind of made it a little bit messy, but like I'm guessing all the apps re- like there's still ways to like archive them,
Hmm.
even if they're only as app bundles. So like I that part of me doesn't love this, but again, like if I'm just thinking of like all the times I've seen high profile apps just completely like stay on the previous API level for as long as Google will allow them, just so they can collect that extra bit of data they don't need. I'm like, yep, toss them out, please.
Yeah. So what I kind of wish they would have done, and I can see why they didn't, but I still kind of think that they should have done it. I think that they should have basically a an override option, like a straight up, here's an app,
Yeah.
but probably more for games than anything. It definitely is more suited for games, but I could see there being scenarios for apps too. I'd kind of like to see there just be a blatant override saying, no, I totally understand that this is an old app, it's on an ancient API, but I want it. Screw it. I understand the risks. I understand that this isn't technically a great idea, but I have no reason to think this app won't work. I have every reason to think that it's perfectly safe. Just let me have it. Because
Mm.
keep in mind, it's not like this is a way to attack devices anymore, because the Play Store already doesn't allow you to update the app unless it targets a recent version. So it's not like somebody came along several years later and decided, oh, I'm just going to keep it at this old version and add malware. And if there was malware, it probably would have been found by now by Bouncer. Like, there are all these reasons to think that everything there is probably safe. It's just the developer no longer supports it. Like, that is
Mhm.
really all we're discussing here, is the developer stopped supporting it, they abandoned it. Maybe the developer, like, something bad could have happened. The developer might not be alive anymore, or maybe the developer has retired. Android is now old enough that people who wrote apps back in the early days could very possibly now just be retired developers, and they never sold the app to someone to continue development. Like, there are reasons why something might not be supported anymore, but still has function and value, and it's still a good app that people would want to purchase or use if it's free, whatever.
Mhm.
Under all of those circumstances, I sit here and I kind of look at it like, I still think you should be able to say, here's an app, I really, really want it. I had, like, someone gave me a URL because I couldn't find it through search. I know that this is the one app that solves my problem or has the really neat thing that I want. Just let me download it and install it. I, you know, there
Mhm.
should be an override.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like this is like the answer to every limitation Google makes is like let me have an override. And like to a certain extent I can be like, yeah, I want the option, but also like if you add an option, then like whoever's trying to take advantage of you is going to tell you to flip it. Like like every not specifically for this, but like for example with the toggle to sideload apps, like every single like malware site will like walk you through
Mm-hmm.
enabling apps from unknown developers, like that kind of thing. So the fact that there's a toggle there means that that risk hasn't completely gone away. But yeah, I don't. This is a little bit more. Yeah, I could maybe see some kind of option for this, just because, like you said, like if it's on the Play Store, Google's already scanned it. It's probably not dangerous. The only thing I can see why there might not be a toggle is to like I I'm trying to think, like, if I'm thinking of old stuff on the Play Store, like a lot of it honestly at this point is probably broken. Like it's apps for like services that don't exist anymore, or it's games that weren't like updated for like modern graphics at all, and they have issues on newer phones.
It's funny because I've got so many ideas in mind of things that definitely aren't supported anymore.
Yeah.
That absolutely would not be broken.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Android like is still pretty good about running older apps. Like whenever I'm like I want to, sideload this game I remember playing a decade ago. Wow, look at that. It still mostly works.
Well, in point of fact, I don't remember how long ago it was. I want to say it's probably been about 2 years since this happened. It was not too long after I started the RambleCast, actually. But I was reminded during a conversation of a game that I played many years earlier, and it's like I think I should play that again. Why the hell not? And it was just some old tower defense game that I enjoyed from ages ago. I tracked it down, installed it, still worked perfectly good. And just to throw it out there, other things that people might actually want today that would still work. Live wallpapers. Mm-hmm. That used to be like one of the biggest things in the Play Store. People were just, because a lot of developers honestly didn't have many other skills, so a ton of them made live wallpapers, and honestly some of them were really good and really cool. No one makes live wallpapers really anymore, not very many at least. I never hear about a bunch of those appearing on the Play Store, and there were some that were kind of neat or just fit really good themes. I'm personally not a big fan of them, but hey, I know people who are. Mm-hmm. So I could see that being a thing a lot of people would still like to install, and none of those developers are keeping those things updated.
Yeah, it's the same thing with games where like you're kind of like once you're done with it, like unless it's a live service game or something, like you're just done. Yeah. Like I have like one of my apps is a wrapper for a web app I made a long time ago that's like a to-do manager, and like I'm not working on that anymore, but like it still works. It does what it originally did. Mm-hmm. Like it's not good because I made it a long time ago and I didn't really know what I was doing. But like, like at one point I did pull it, and then like a while later I got an email from like I guess the one person who used it. They're like, "Hey, I couldn't find it to download on my new phone." And I was like, "Okay, I'll throw it back on there." Like it's not costing me anything. It's fine.
Also, hello, Carson. Saw your comment earlier. Just now getting around to saying anything. Oops. But yeah. The whole point. My point is, I want the override. I know that it should probably not be a thing. There are risks associated with having an override, technically, but I don't think that they're really real risks so much as you're allowing a niche scenario where some developer is going to be like, hey, I'm too lazy to update my app so it's compatible with the Play Store's new requirements, but I absolutely am not so lazy that I won't still advertise my app outside of the Play Store, give people a URL to download it so that they can go in, and I'm going to tell them that they have to do the override thing because of reasons. Like, the amount of effort that goes into this, I don't think there's a danger to putting in an override. I think it's just, this is Google kind of pushing a little too hard to try to convince developers that they have to keep updating and keep updating to the new API levels and keep like following through.
Yeah. It's interesting. And again, like I'm not like super torn on this either way, because sideloading will be a thing forever, and if something isn't accessible to buy and it's been years and the developer doesn't really seem interested in like preserving it anymore, then like it's probably free game at that point. right? Like I don't think like EA is overly concerned with me downloading a modified build of like the Sims 3 game they published like a decade ago.
Honestly, I bet they are.
I mean, they would be, but like you know, like they've moved on. They've got other Sims games now that are worse.
Yes. So yeah, I definitely agree. This is a good thing. If nothing else, just yes, please remove it from search results. No matter what, I want my search results to be cleaner, and I feel like
there's a lot of craft on the Play Store.
Yeah. That being said, honestly, the thing that I think would worry me most is how many of the crappy apps that don't deserve to ever come up. A lot of those are actually just constantly getting like micro updates that don't actually update anything. They just technically change like a few characters and stuff like that so that they can show that they have recent update dates. And a lot of those are also built from sort of there's no better way to say it than just to call them kits. They're basically like kind of pre-built packages that are going to stay relatively current with the API levels. So those are actually likely to sustain longer than a lot of legitimately built apps where the developer just hasn't had time to come back around and update the API level and fix all the things that actually don't work anymore, because each new version of Android does inevitably break something.
Yeah, especially with games where they're usually built with like Unity or something.
Oh yeah.
And like updating a Unity game like that's more work than like updating like an Android app to use all the new APIs. And like a lot of cases, like you just can't do it without like basically making it from scratch. Yeah, which is also, you know, the issue that people keep running into with 32-bit software on Mac OS. But yeah, so fun times. So there was also the Plex thing. Where's the Plex thing?
I've already got.
Okay. I just went to it.
I decided to share the love and bring up Mac Rumors post on it, which is shockingly short, but
I love Mac Rumors.
Their buyer's guide, man. Their buyer's guide
Good,
is so good.
Good people over there. Yeah. So this is basically Plex doing what Google TV does.
What
where
everyone tries to do.
Yeah, everyone. I know, like Plex, Roku has some implementation of this.
Roku, Apple TV does it. Fire TV kind of tries and does it very poorly. Yeah, Android TV or Google TV, whichever term you want to use for it, they have this, but it's debatable how good it is.
Yeah, so Plex's thing is basically just up. There's a dog barking very loud. So basically Plex is just upgrading their search with the ability to search for content on other streaming services in addition to results from your own Plex libraries that are shared with you, and all of the movies and TV shows that Plex itself has that's like ad supported. So that's pretty cool if you already use Plex, because before, like, I know, like, I had my own Plex library. It's been down for like a long time. I don't really care to fix it, but when I had my own Plex library and when I had stuff shared with me and I wanted to find out if I had a movie somewhere, like, I'd have to at a minimum do a Google search to check on the major streaming things, which still isn't always good. Like, Google search is not helpful all the time. Like, the one thing that keeps tripping me up is there have been multiple times now where I search for a movie to know if I own it, that I want to like do for like a movie night on my Discord, and I see the Google search result and I see it says it's on Hulu, and I'm like, great, I have Hulu, that's great. And then like the day of, I'm like, oh wait, this is with the Showtime add-on. Like, that's not helpful to me.
Yeah, and
So yeah,
Amazon's the
like,
same way.
yeah, Amazon too. So yeah, it's yes, like at a minimum, if I'm trying to figure out if I have access to a certain movie, I'm doing a Google search and I'm searching in Plex. So like if you don't already use Plex, there's not really a reason to use this probably.
Oh no.
But if you use Plex at all, this is pretty cool. The one thing I do see is that it doesn't seem like this is really built to like open the piece of content from Plex. Like at least from the screen, I haven't tried this myself, but at least from the screen.
According to something I read, it opens in Plex.
Okay.
Which I am skeptical as hell about that. I don't think that's how it works.
Well, probably not in Plex itself, but like at outlinks, I would assume, like Google does.
Well, it's I can think of a few different ways that it could work where it kind of would, like, maybe, yeah, kind of like a deep link from Plex. Yeah. It might do that, or it might even be sort of like a loaded components situation.
Yeah, it's got a web view in it or something.
Yeah, I mean, I could see these being solutions, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it myself in part because I only have subscriptions to Amazon and HBO, so not exactly a lot to specifically try from, though I should. Yeah. I do use Plex, and I absolutely could have tested this by now. I just haven't. But yeah, if this loads inside the Plex interface in any way, shape, or form, that's nice. It is really nice.
Yeah, I'm quickly doing a search. Okay, so I just did a search for Arrested Development, and it has links to Hulu and Roku. So if I click Hulu, it opened Hulu in a new tab. So that's what it does on desktop. I'm not sure how it behaves on TV. I haven't really seen TV apps do like deep linking stuff, but that might be possible in like at least like Apple TV and like the ones that are like actual operating systems, not like, like Roku or whatever. I mean, Roku's an OS, but they don't really have like apps per se. They're all kind of like bookmarks.
Yeah. So do you have any thoughts on this? Do you have any feelings about them doing this?
I think it's interesting. I know, like over the past couple years when I've covered them for news, like obviously their original intent was just making a really good self-hosted server for your own media content,
for pirated stuff.
Yeah. But that's really hard to scale and like make a sustainable business out of, I would imagine. So over the years, they've kind of been pivoting to like, we're adding ad-supported content. So like, even if you don't know how to make a server, you can still like use Plex for stuff. And now we're like doing like more sharing stuff. So like, if you know someone who can set up a server, like you're still enjoying it. So like, I've seen them like try to expand, and like now they're doing I've seen them do a big push on music, which I think is a really good move, especially after Google Play Music exploded. So like you can host your own music in Plex, and they have like a dedicated Plex app for music that's pretty good. So I've seen them like continue to expand beyond the niche of people that both have a movie or music collection that they have and the knowledge to run a server and a server to run it on, and just expanding beyond that. So I get why they're doing that. I have seen a couple people like kind of just annoyed, like a lot of like, because if you're just using Plex for its original purpose of like, I'm dumping all my movies on this, I want to watch it on my phone in another room, like a lot of the newer stuff is not benefiting you at all. So like I can kind of see why people are annoyed at that. And yeah, I mean, I think this specifically is probably a smart move, because if something is on Plex, like if you're searching for something and it's on Plex, then Plex probably gets priority. and if it's something that's in their like ad-free or ad-supported library, then they're making money from that if you watch it through there. So like just the idea of like turning Plex into the hub rather than like an app you visit like alongside all your other apps, that is smart. That's probably what I would do if I was Plex.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I see this as kind of being the same in a very sort of like this is a first steps kind of way. I see this being the start of a strategy to turn Plex into kind of like the thing everyone wants to open right away on their on whatever media box that they have. There's a giant freaking fly that just came in here. And...
yeah, I had a wasp in here earlier.
That's worse.
Like, yeah, like I was just working here and I see like a wasp fly because I had my door open. Like, okay, time to save WordPress and go work in another room.
But yeah, this giant like it's like a horse fly. But so that's fun. Anyway, man, it like every time there's a fly in here, it becomes a new like how far is Cody gonna have to go to try to kill a fly? Anyway, I know that this is going like kind of many steps too far in this conversation, but a small part of me is kind of wondering, is this the start of Plex like maybe coming out with their own player someday?
Right.
Because if they get this started, they and if it's popular and people like it and they mature this well enough, they will then have arrangements set up with all the streaming services already. They'll have APIs that are tested and people will generally like. Honestly, the one thing kind of remaining is just to actually put out a piece of hardware that customers can buy that's like a, you know, I hate saying a Plex box, but something kind of like that.
Right. It's turning into what's Kodi, not the
KODI, yeah.
KODI, yeah. Like it Plex has kind of already had an overlap with that for a while. And that's been their entire thing, is like, here's the software you can put on whatever box you want, and it like is the interface.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Plex is pretty close to that. The only thing they're really missing is I don't know how well. I guess if they make I know the Android app for Plex for a while has let you open local files just in the app, which is something that like it was pretty important for Kodi for a long time. So since they have that, you know, if they wanted to ship their own Android box, they probably could. There would probably be a market for that, considering I know Google is scared off at least one or two manufacturers from Android TV because they're trying to switch everyone over to Google TV, which is a completely different UI, and some of the companies making TVs want their own UI.
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
And yeah, I was gonna say, in addition to possibly making their own box, the other way to go is make a quote-unquote operating system. Obviously based on Android TV would be the very logical choice. And if they could somehow be more appealing than Google, that would make a lot of sense. That's potentially a really good avenue for them.
Yeah. And then they've got that nice vertical integration where if you have a Plex TV, then you know you're gonna watch stuff on their ad library, and you might also set up a server at some point or pay someone for a server. Honestly, I'm surprised they haven't done that also. I know there'd be like a million legal issues, but like, yeah.
Yeah. The DIY side of things often gets overlooked, but if you basically tell people, yeah, hey, here's a server, please upload all of your pirated content to it.
Yeah. I mean, Google could get away with it for like a decade. Maybe Plex can, but
yeah.
I mean, I could see them doing something like that. Um, I don't know. It would depend on like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I think that's probably a really difficult market to break into. Um, I know like Amazon and Roku pretty much have that entire market to themselves. And then there's like a small, like there's like Sony in the corner with Google TV.
You say that, but keep in mind, Android TV, Google TV is a massive part of cable set-top
Yeah,
boxes.
yeah. I know there's a lot of them, but I'm thinking like in terms of like smart TVs,
Yeah.
which I assume is what Plex would try to go for because like that's where everyone's going now.
Well, they definitely have to start there. I don't think they would have much luck getting into cable TVs given their current stuff, but they could always add that in the future. Or just kind of play into the whole like we want live TV to just happen through streaming services anyway. That's obviously kind of a maybe version.
Yeah,
of
and that's another good point is that not Roku, Plex already has live TV support. Like if you have a server somewhere with a antenna, and you hook it up, it has all the interface in it already for live TV stuff.
Yeah. And hey, David, how's it going?
Which I would set up if there was anything on live TV ever here that I care to watch, like care to save to watch later, I guess is the right way. Like it's great if I'm like eating for 15 minutes. I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll watch Pawn Stars. That's great.
Yeah, that really is so
Or
much
like
a big part of it.
yeah.
I don't remember the last time there was really something live TV that I was like, oh my god, I need to see this. Generally speaking, I can either stream it or I don't want to watch it in the first place. And I know sports is the one huge exception. I'm not trying to diminish that. I just don't watch any sports really.
No, me neither. I got my $35 antenna, and it was bought basically for the Olympics last year. And it worked fine for that because NBC has like the only really good antenna here for some reason. Like all the other channels just are shit with reception where I am. And the local news here is kind of okay most of the time. So I use for those two things. And of course I got to watch I had the opportunity to watch the Olympics again this year. I didn't really watch most of that because I was busy, and also everything made me less enthusiastic to watch it. Just everything. Yay.
All the constant news coverage that was just all the stuff that had nothing to do with the Olympics but somehow did have to do with the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, it was all that, and then there was like all the stuff about there were a couple athletes that were like kind of broke some rules in the
that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
It really is not the Olympics, but it's obviously directly connected. Yeah, that stuff. There was a lot of stories that just kind of ruined the Olympics this last time around.
Yeah, I'm just like, I can't really get excited when the genocide country wants to, show me how cool their country is. And I know cannot speak to that at all as someone living in America, but I'm just, it's just hard for me to get excited for it. That's all. If you enjoy the Olympics, that's great.
Yeah. I lost interest in the Olympics so long ago.
I watched a little bit of snowboarding, and that was kind of neat, but that was it. Again, like I do mostly like the winter sports more, like just in general, like they're more interesting.
They are
to watch.
Honestly, yeah.
Like I was watching the summer when I was watching the Summer Olympics last year, like. Like I don't really care about like running. Like that's like really cool they can do that, but like it's just not that interesting for me to watch. And then like kind of the same with swimming. I'm like, I know this is like really physically impressive, and like I could never do this if I trained for 10 years, but like it's not really do anything for me. But the last Summer Olympics, they added like skateboarding, like the X Games, and I was like, oh, this is cool. They're doing like
Yeah.
flips on the board, and it's like some like 14-year-old like winning all the gold medals.
No, and see, that's exactly it. And honestly, I think that's why they finally gave in and added all that stuff, because people lost interest in sports that are just purely about physical acuity, and because I'm sorry, but this sounds maybe bad, I don't know, but who really cares about watching somebody run 0.2 seconds faster or less, or however you want to phrase it, than somebody else? Like, if somebody sets a record by being just slightly faster, is that interesting to watch? I don't think it is. But if you put somebody on a skateboard, they're doing different tricks. They have technique that can vary. You have possibly people who do totally different things, and they might be competitive with each other doing totally different things.
Yeah, there's more variance. Again, like that. Why it was kind of like watching the snowboarding, because there's a lot of different tricks you can do when you're going really fast on a snowboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I generally like the winter stuff more, which is why I was kind of like annoyed I couldn't really get in the spirit of it. You know, as much as I love watching people go like 400 miles an hour in like a tiny bobsled, like. But yeah, so. Anyway, that's why why the antenna is there. Is there's occasionally a sport I would watch, and also sometimes the news. Although now that I have mostly reliable internet, it's not getting used as much.
Yeah.
Because that was also part of the reason I was using it a lot, because when I moved initially, my internet was having a lot of issues, and streaming didn't always work. So that was nice as a backup. It's like, yeah, it's just in the air already. I don't need to download it.
Though, for what it's worth, living in North Carolina, I am not sure I would ever want to watch the news.
Yeah, it's not all bad here, but it's bad sometimes.
Feels like every time there's North Carolina news, it's usually bad.
Well, it's the local news, so they're like, look at this cool new store that opened down the street. It's they make donuts. Like that
okay, you have local interest stories, I guess, that would still be positive.
Although, like, occasionally it is really funny with local news where they try to like kind of like what I would do when Android Police was just Android news, where like there's like something you want to cover, be like, what is this related at all? Like, how can we like pull this so it's kind of related? So like the news here has been covering some of the Ukraine stuff, and their angle for it is that there is a fucking enormous military base here where like a lot of the people going to Ukraine are from. So that's fair enough, I guess, but that's not really what I want to watch right now.
They're definitely forcing their way in on that, but yeah, hey,
sure,
you've gotta find a way.
Yeah. And of course that base is named after, I think, a Confederate general, because of course it is. Yeah. I think it's called Fort Bragg, that's a funny name.
Yeah. David brings up they should squeeze the Olympic Games into small videos like TikTok for the Olympics. Honestly, yes. For real.
There are many ways you could improve the Olympic Games. They could do. I don't know. I'm kind of like, because the main issue with the Olympics at this point, at least as an American, is NBC is fucking terrible at covering it. Like, just at that. It is that's also part of the reason I didn't really watch the Winter Olympics, because they just went full hog with the most infuriating coverage imaginable. Like there would be an event going on, and like while it was still going on, they'd cut to a commercial, or they would like do a split screen thing where the event was on one side of the screen and like a Wendy's commercial or something was on the other.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, they're not even waiting until like they're done doing their little snowboard run or whatever, and they're at the bottom of the hill. Like, they're just doing it right now. And of course, NBC Universal has exclusive rights in the US for like the next decade or something, so that's not going to change.
Well, I think everyone's gonna do that though, because they
Oh,
all
probably.
want to sell time slots associated with when
Un,
people are
un,
watching.
un, unless like Netflix picks it up, that would be wild.
Okay,
I,
is it wrong that I'm thinking, wow, that is genius? Netflix needs to do this.
they should. I mean, they've got way too much money, and you know they could pump the brakes on funding 15 more terrible comedies for a little while and save up their money for the Olympics rights. And honestly, like NBC tried to do this with the last two Olympics, where they like really lean into like you can watch everything on Peacock, like every single of it, because like obviously they only have like a couple channels, and during the Olympics there's usually multiple events happening at once. So like trying to figure out when something is actually like happening or watching it later is legitimately difficult. So they were pushing like, hey, we've got it all on Peacock this year. Just search for the thing you want on Peacock and it's there. But like Peacock was having issues. Like I don't pay for Peacock, so I didn't try any of this.
From what I can tell, I think nobody does.
No, but I know like I saw people complaining that like some of the events were labeled wrong, or they would have like the winner of the event or whatever in like the thumbnail or title or something. So like if you were watching it to be like surprised, like when you want to know how something happens, like most sports, you're gonna end up spoiled immediately.
Yeah.
So I feel like Netflix could do it okay. Like like I don't really agree with like a lot of what Netflix does as a company, but their like technical side has always been very, very impressive.
I mean, I don't agree with hardly any company 100%, but when it comes down to it, I don't think Netflix is really on that bad of a side. Not compared to Spotify, at least.
That's true. They're not paying Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But they do keep letting like really not great people do stand-ups.
Yeah, I was gonna say they let a few stand-up comedians through. That's really the worst that they're doing.
Yeah. And they cancel my favorite shows. That's the other thing.
Well,
that's
they cancel practically everything.
They cancel. They've really turned into the new Fox, haven't they? It's like everything gets one season and it's out.
They make a really good show that's never gonna make it another season.
Yeah, Carson said we get Peacock for free. I think my mom also technically does. I'm not sure if she actually has like set that up, because I know she has Xfinity at her house. And I think Xfinity people still get Peacock for free. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of ways to improve Olympics watching, and none of it will happen.
I would argue there's a lot of ways to improve almost everything that we stream. One of which, and I know that, show me a person who's not going to agree with this. One of those things that we really honestly need is a single player interface that just doesn't suck.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, my issue with, and like I've kind of wanted to write an editorial about this, but I don't know how many words I can get out of this, is like at this point I want Android, and really all operating systems, but you could start on Android pretty easily. I want Android to have a default video player that has like most of the features that are going into all the other video players, and just give me an option to always use that. Right? Because like because this is the annoying thing, is like watching something on YouTube and Netflix and HBO are like almost the same. Like it's like websites where like we've all kind of agreed on the same sort of elements and buttons, but like they're all slightly different, and some of them support the double tap to go back and forward, and some of them don't. Some of them have like a functional scrubber, and some of them just don't.
Yeah, so
it's really annoying.
The example that immediately sits right on the surface of my mind is HBO Max. Their player interface is, it's not bad, but it's definitely not good.
have you used Hulu app on Android?
You know what? I have not actually used Hulu in any form, in any capacity, except technically searching for stuff for the movie post every once in a while. I have not used Hulu in any capacity in a decade.
It's not good, man.
I keep hearing that. Honestly, seriously, the last time I watched something on Hulu, I think was in its first year in existence, and that's back when they were still not even that abusive with their commercials.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the no commercials Hulu for like 5 or 6 years now, just because like they start like it started off. My family had Netflix, and then Hulu was kind of like where everything not on Netflix was. So it was perfect. It was like,
yeah, you just needed these two things and you were good.
Yeah, it's like when you want to play games and you have a computer and a Switch, like that's it. You're covered.
Yeah.
But and then like everything kind of diverged. I've kind of debated tossing it out, but they've still got a couple things there that I want to watch. And now that's kind of where Disney is putting all the like Fox and FX stuff. That's maybe a little bit too dicey for Disney Plus. So that's fine. And now I have family members paying for like all the other services, so that's fine. I'll keep paying for Hulu. That's my cut. We're all just trading.
Well, until Netflix lays down the law.
Yes, yeah, that's fine. I'm using Netflix for 2 shows, and I haven't used it in like a year before that, so I won't cry over it if that happens. But yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Man,
and
I know that this is totally random, off topic. There's never anything worse than when you get an email notification from Slick Deals about a thing, and it's like, oh man, I really want to buy that. I can't afford
that. Yeah.
But on that note, if anyone would like to help support the RambleCast, links down below. There's a Streamlabs link, which I will forget forever to change to a PayPal link, and Patreon if you'd like to help support. Thank you.
Do it.
And thank you to David and Diablo for being Patreon subscribers.
Do it. Give Cody money. Give Cody money because I don't pay him for Tech Tales, and I still feel like he should have some kind of support.
Well, hey, one of these days, maybe someone will actually follow me on Twitter from Tech Tales, and that'll... I do things for exposure.
Yeah, don't we all?
I'm sure most people listening probably get why that's funny, but just in case anyone doesn't, it's a big joke that everyone wants people to do free stuff for the exposure.
Yes.
People always ask photographers and programmers and all these other people to do stuff, and it's like, yeah, exposure doesn't feed us, dude.
I can't pay my rent with this.
Yeah. I can't buy you gear. I can't pay for gas out to the place that I have to go so I can help you do something for no pay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love the For Exposure Twitter account. It's excellent. Right up there with I found another account I really like. What's it? It's called Crap on LinkedIn. That's another one of my new favorites in that same category. It's mostly just like business people trying to make inspirational posts or something, and it's really funny.
Which is particularly funny given that thing we talk about in that room with that person who you know who I'm talking about.
Yes. I can talk about I have a couple like really small things I can talk about. So the first thing, I don't think I've talked about this on here. It was a little bit ago, but I wasn't here last week. Is I made a Chrome extension called Picture-in-Picture Shortcut, and all it does is it adds a keyboard shortcut for the picture-in-picture mode in Chrome. That's it. That's all it does. Because like I
Wait, is
switched
it
to
only Chrome?
yes,
Okay.
at least for now. I don't so I've been using Firefox for the past few years, which has like just a button, like when you hover over any video player, like there's a button to pop it out. So like I didn't really care that there wasn't a keyboard shortcut because it's still one click. But I switched back to Chrome a couple weeks ago, and not only is there, you know, like no keyboard shortcut by default or a button or anything, but they make you open the media pop-up thing, and then in that is the button to pop out the video, which is really annoying. Unless the page itself has a button to do that, but most of them don't. So yeah, so I was like, why this should exist? So I made it, and then I realized after I made it that like some Google engineers made basically this like 2 years ago, and published it, but their thing has not been updated for Manifest v3 yet, so I don't actually know how long it'll stick around. Mine is Manifest v3, which has actually I think is causing at least 2 bugs that I can't solve myself. Someone said it doesn't really work on Mac, or like unless you like reload it after it's installed. I don't. There's some permissions thing. I don't know. I need to figure that out. And then also there's a notification when you install it to tell you that it's on, and that keeps going. Some of the time when you reopen, like when you fully restart Chrome, but not all the time. I don't know why. I didn't do anything. I'm using the same exact code that I use for all my other things, but because this is Manifest v3, I guess it's broken.
Interesting.
But also my extension, what it also does, besides the keyboard shortcut, is that it removes that little HTML attribute that sites use to block picture-in-picture mode from working. So, like for example, again going back to Hulu is garbage. The Hulu website blocks picture-in-picture mode, so this will like force it to use that. So that's nice. That's nice for me. I don't know how many other people are doing that, but
yeah, no, and that's definitely the cool, like, big benefit out of that is just being able to force it.
Yeah. And that's also the cool thing about this is about like just these like that is one of the huge advantages that the web has got in the past decade or so. It's just that all like media objects and everything is just open, so like you can do stuff like this. Like it's all just HTML and JavaScript. Like this extension, it just uses the picture-in-picture mode that like Chrome already has. It's had for years. And when I need to override, well, for pages that need to be overridden, like that don't support picture-in-picture, all I have to do is I'm removing that attribute that blocks it, and I'm adding my own listener for like when the play and pause button is clicked on the pop-up, it pauses or plays the video element, and that's like one line of code because it's all open stuff. So as a result, this is like the smallest browser extension I've ever made. It's like less than 80 lines of JavaScript.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's fun. Again, it's still like partially broken though, but I don't know how much I can do about that.
At least until you buy a Mac in a few weeks.
Yes. Well, you know, I'll dig up the Mac Mini behind me, who just wants to die and be left in peace. But I keep bringing it back to life every couple weeks to test something.
It's it's almost too bad I'm not a little further along with migrating everything off of this laptop. I'd be half tempted just to give you remote access to it so you could goof around and test stuff that way.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I need it so little that like even the work of like setting up a Mac VM really isn't worth it.
Right.
Or like a permanent remote. It's like something like that'll take me a couple hours like every couple of months. Like it's always something so little, but it's annoying. But Yeah. So yeah, that's a fun thing I made. Um, did you talk about the OnePlus charging stuff at all last week?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with
I'll
no.
okay. I'll put this in Ramble.
Was this the it doesn't charge at speed thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have talked about that, I don't think.
Okay. I'll talk about this and then I'll probably go because I'm like starving. Um, but yeah. So this was a fun again. Like OnePlus has successfully confused everyone with their 17 different launches for the OnePlus 10 Pro, and in most cases, at least in the past couple of years, it's probably safe to assume that like the phone they sell in China is the same as the phone they sell everywhere else, like generally. But this time around, there is like one kind of silly difference. So they released the OnePlus 10 Pro in China, I think in March or February, I don't know. But in China, it had 80-watt wired charging, which is kind of crazy. I don't really know why we need that, but that's cool, I guess.
Just to say that
And
they
then,
have it.
yeah, it's a number, but they confirmed in a forum thread, like they had a thread of like, ask us about the OnePlus 10 launch, like the United States launch. And someone asked about the charging, and they confirmed that in North America, the OnePlus 10 Pro only does 65-watt charging, not 80. And their excuse was that the 80-watt charging relied on the higher voltage power outlets in China. So yeah, so I didn't know this, but apparently power outlets in China are 220 volts, which is basically double what we have here. Our outlets are 110 volts. But like that just means you have to build the charger a little bit differently. Like there's not less electricity coming,
Right.
like especially for a phone. Like I was like, like I used an example in some comment or something. I was like, microwaves usually use 1,000 watts when they're on. Like you're not like this. You can charge a phone at 80 watts here. There's USB. There's USB power delivery bricks here that are more than that. Like I'm reviewing a portable battery right now that does 100-watt USB charging. Supposedly, I can't test that because I don't have like a MacBook Pro.
I was just gonna say I've got a MacBook Pro that definitely charges at over 80 watt. Like we can do this.
Yeah, we have the technology to charge it at 80 watts in America. That does exist, but they just like don't want to make a new charger for the US. Like this is kind of indicative to me is like how little OnePlus cares about international markets at this point. Like I think they just care about China and India a little bit, and that's it. They're checked out for everything else.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far. I bet they care.
Okay.
But I think in this one particular instance, they were probably looking at it and saying, you know what, we could do this. We know we can do this, but
right, like this is
just
the thing
not
that like
worth the cost on this particular thing. So let's just give up on this one stupid, unnecessary detail.
Right, like this is the thing that like people won't notice, right? Because the phone's already charging really fast. Like on a like just regular note, like you don't need more than like 60-watt charging or whatever on a phone, probably.
Okay, actually, do you have more on this that you want to say, or can I go a little conspiratorial for a second?
You can do whatever you want, Cody. It's your you have the floor.
Okay, what if this is one of those situations where they're saying, we'd like to do 80 watt, but the odds that it will cause the batteries to go all Note 7 on this goes way up when we go from 65 to 80 watt. What if they're saying in China we can ship this, and if some of our phones explode, oh well, no one's really going to hear about it. Like, this is not going to make news. No one's going to pay attention if that happens. But if it happened in the US or anywhere else, people care. There are more regulations. There's more people watching this stuff. It stands a chance of actually making news. I'm just saying, you might want to play it safe in certain places, and playing it safe in this case would definitely be, let's just lose 15 watts of charging. It's okay.
I don't know if I buy that one, Cody. I think, but I do think it's probably some combination of this costs money and it's not worth it, and like we just don't really want to deal with this right now. Because also, like, I don't know, I haven't read the charging section in the review Adam did for XDA, which was very long. But I don't know if this is one of those cases where the phone doesn't actually charge at 80 watts for very long, because I know that's historically been the issue with Samsung's phones, where like the S22, like I believe it can do 45 watt charging, but it is essentially never charging at 45 watt. Like, exactly. It's like capable of it, and like if your battery's at 0%, it'll probably do that for a little while, but after that point it's not going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's only something like the first 20 or 25% is going to be at full speed, and then it progressively scales down as,
or if it's on, then it's gonna lower that. But yeah, so I just thought this was funny, because it's like, come on, like you can't make a different power adapter for America, guys, come on.
Well, I mean, I think they already have to, but this is not the greatest thing. But the thing is, like you said, literally, like the very first thing you said is, did we really need 80 watt?
Yeah, like it's not like, this isn't something where I'm like, no one should buy this phone because they're cheating Americans out of the 80 watt charge. Like, it doesn't matter. I just think it's silly. Especially as like there's an increasing focus on not the United States as a market, because I'm sure it's like really hard to get market share here, and they seem to be doing a good job of getting it in China and India. So, you know,
well,
I'm sure they made a decision somewhere on that.
But taking it the other direction, how many phones really need 80 watt charging? It's just
no, none of them.
I mean, neat, I guess, but how much of a difference does it even make in the final charging time? You know?
It's kind of like driving, where once you get, like, if you're trying to drive somewhere far away, like once you get above like 65 on the highway, like anything above that is really diminishing returns, especially in terms of like gas mileage. Like, you're not really getting any there much faster. Like, just stay at that at that speed.
Well, if your trip is short, yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, believe me, every time that I drove from Oregon to Vegas, that's it was almost exactly 1,000 miles or something. I'll tell you what, it's worth it to speed a little bit. Not a lot, nothing crazy, just, a little faster.
Out of sight, yes. But
and definitely on some roads where you can see for miles. And
that's the other factor out there. It's like, no one's around. Like, there's literally no other humans here.
Yeah. As long as there's no other cars and no cops, who cares?
Yes. And yes, me saying yes has nothing to do with the fact that I have to go to traffic court in like 2 months for this. But, that was fun. Oh, also, last thing is, as of today, when today is the 30th anniversary of the release of Windows 3.1. So, yeah, that's neat. Maybe I'll play. Maybe I'll play some. Yeah, maybe I'll play some SimCity later tonight in honor. Although I only have the Mac version of SimCity, I'd have to download the Windows version. Or no, it was DOS.
It was DOS.
Well, SimCity
they did eventually
2000.
make the Windows version, but
There was a Windows. Yeah, there was a Windows version. I don't know if that was for 3.1 or not.
yeah, I'm not quite sure on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you enjoy finding that 256K download. I don't know what it would have been. I'm assuming it's a little more than that, but not by a lot.
Yeah. Like I've got the Mac version on a floppy somewhere, and it's smaller than a megabyte.
Mm-hmm.
At least the Mac one, which I think is better if I remember correctly. But yeah,
I imagine.
I do love SimCity 2000. That's like one of like the 3 really old games I can go back and it's like perfectly enjoyable. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. I've played that for hours.
And one of the few games that is not not linked to CPU speed.
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's fine to run on anything.
Yeah,
because I've played that in everything from like a real Mac. Actually, I need to install that on my Power Mac back here. I tried doing that before, but I have to I have to install something on Mac OS for mounting floppy images first, because this doesn't have a floppy disk drive. But yeah, I've played the Mac version on emulators. I've also played the Windows version on. I don't think it runs native on Windows anymore because I think it's 16-bit. I think, but it does run. It does run in Windows XP in VirtualBox. So I have played it at like ultra wide in my Windows XP VM. It's great. I love it. It's very fun. Okay, I'm gonna go now. I'm hungry.
All right. Well, I was about to say if do you have anything to plug, but you just were doing that for half an hour.
I was doing that for too long. Yes. Listen to Tech Tales. We're gonna record more Tech Tales this weekend, Cody.
Yes, we are. Yes.
We were gonna do that yesterday, but I was deathly ill.
We were not gonna do that yesterday.
Yes,
yesterday was
last
Tuesday.
weekend. Last weekend. Yes.
But yeah.
No perception of time.
Yeah, we will be doing that this weekend. In all likelihood, that will be the one and only thing I do besides probably game stream and then work on taxes. Yay.
Yeah, my taxes were horrific this year. Not just because they were very expensive, because taxes for contractors in the U.S. are awful. They're the worst.
Yeah. Well, strictly speaking, taxes for contractors don't necessarily have to be bad. It's that the way it's the way we have to do them to avoid not going completely broke.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also during 2020, I moved and I changed my main employers. So that was a whole lot of boxes that had to be changed in TurboTax.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, and I'm still not looking forward to it for the reason I think I told you about.
Well, yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, so the federal government and the 2 states I had to file to accept it. So I think I'm in the clear.
Yeah. Well, my complication is that some of it does not even go through the federal government now.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love taxes. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have fun with that. I'm leaving.
All right. Well, take it easy, man. I will catch you, I guess, this weekend. Plus in Discord, but
hopefully, if I don't get sick again.
Yeah, and hopefully I don't get sick. I technically have been sneezing a lot today, and I'm sure it's not hay fever. So hopefully this isn't like a cold that's kicking you up. But I'm always a little untrustworthy, but I'll let you know it well in advance.
Especially when you're doing like things with your voice.
Yeah.
Like I was doing, like I did that on Saturday when I woke up. I was like, all right, can I do something today? And then I'm like, hey, welcome to Tech Talk. Like, ah, shit, that's not happening.
Yeah. Well, the counter to that though is if you can get that perfectly timed, like you were sick and now you're recovering from it.
Yeah,
and
you're
it's
like I'm just like, I just snorted a lot of Flonase. I'm good for a couple hours.
Oh well, okay. There's that too, but I was thinking more like you get the awesome deep voice effect, like. All of a sudden it's like I sound like Morgan Freeman, kind of. Just I'm not trying to impersonate that, but just like all of a sudden you just drop an octave or two, and it's like I just sound amazing right now. My voice is just as good as it's ever gonna be
for like 30 minutes, and then you become unable to speak.
Very typically, but for that short time that you have awesome voice, like amazing. Everyone wishes that they could just sound like post-sick all the time.
Well, you have fun with that.
Yeah. Well, take it easy, man. Catch you next time.
Goodbye.
Alrighty. So, I only really have one topic to tap on. So if anyone has others, feel free to make the suggestions. Let's quickly resize this so it's actually lined up right. One of these days I need to fix my layouts so that these aren't quite so janky. Actually, at this point, can I shrink that? And nope, I cannot. Okay, so we're just gonna size that back out. So there's no way not to talk about it. I think it is the biggest thing of the week in its own capacity, or series of events, all leading up to what is not the biggest thing of the week, but is still at least relevant enough. But Elon Musk, Twitter, edit buttons. It's happening. So there's so much to unpack from this thing, and it is ridiculous. It is so bizarre that this timeline has now found its way. God damn, it flies back. I know I hit it with the zapper once. I mean, I felt contact with the hit. Oh, you were flying slower than you were. I definitely got you. Oh, I saw a spark. I hit him again. So he'll probably be down for another 15, 20 minutes. Because of the direction I hit him, I don't know where he landed. And unfortunately, there's stuff piled up. So if I try to go hunting, I'm probably not going to find him. Oh, crap. No, he got right back up. He is flying again. How did he do that? That is very quick for a fly to get back up after his shock. Anyway, so... oh, and again, I'm sure I just said this, but just reiterating, if anyone has topics, feel free. Throw them in the RambleCast chat room. Anyway, yeah, first off, for those that don't know the little bit of kind of setup for this, back around the an early point in March, Elon Musk bought a pretty substantial, I believe it's 9.5% of Twitter. there's this whole other story about the SEC and the fact that he needed to legally, he was supposed to report a purchase that's significant. He did not report it until after the time period he was supposed to report it. I'm not making any big deal out of this. It's technically some shady business. He does, legally speaking, he does have to, or he should probably get fined for this, and in all likelihood he probably will be. No one's gonna care, but he's basically doing it, or he accomplished doing a bit of a pump and dump on the stock, except without the actual dump. So, you know, that's a thing. Anyway, so that damn fly, it is distracting as hell. Anyway, so there's a lot to unpack possibly about him buying into Twitter, but the story that has emerged from this is that Twitter may finally get the edit button that people have been begging for ages, because every other social network has an edit button, or just about every social network has an edit button. Oh, you damn fly, I'm going to kill you spectacularly if that's what it takes. But yeah, anyway, so tweets may finally be editable. Now, what's been interesting is I've seen so many takes on this, and it seems a lot of people think that this is going to be behind a paywall. They're just going to lock it up, so you'll have to pay money if you want to have the edit button. Otherwise, you'll just, you'll just have to live with it. There are, of course, questions about how it's going to be implemented. Is this going to be just sort of like blind edits where you can just forever edit tweets and that's it? Or will there be limitations? Is it going to be like you can post something and edit it only for 15 minutes or a day or something like that? Or is this going to be a thing where you edit a tweet and people always be able to look at the original versions and maybe likely subsequent versions? Or will it be a thing where you can just do total forever change and no one can ever tell? Or is it going to be kind of like Reddit, where it shows that the tweet was edited but doesn't tell you how? I hope not, because that style of doing it sucks. Please just give us the ability to see the entire edit history on a tweet. That's the perfect solution. It really is. So anyway, yeah, a ton of weird little angles to this. I'm personally hoping that the edit button ends up being free for all. It should be. There are some functions that I understand the motivation to make them paywalled, but that is a thing that you shouldn't be, what do I want to call it? I'm going to call it peasant shaming. You shouldn't be peasant shaming people who just don't want to or can't afford or like just don't feel the necessity to pay for service when they're the prime contributors of the content. Yeah, just give everybody edit for free. Okay, if this fly will just get into a spot that I can swing at him. So yeah, anyway, I am looking forward to it. I've wanted to have the edit button for years. In truth, like, I will very possibly go back through a lot of my old tweets and actually just go do some fixes, because there are several where I have like one typo or a word that got auto-corrected and I didn't notice it. I want to fix those. I'm a weird kind of perfectionist where I like going back and fixing old mistakes. I'll tell you, there are so many old articles I've written on AP where now that I'm a better writer. I'm not saying I'm a great writer, but I'm a better writer than I was. I would love to go back, or in many cases, like I rushed something because I had like 10 teardowns to get done, and 3 that I needed to write, and it's like, okay, I just need to get stuff done, and at times you make mistakes. Like I every time I notice stuff on an old teardown post, I still go back and edit that. I'll tell you, I will absolutely 1000% go back through, not my entire Twitter history, which, now that I think about it, how many tweets do I have? I bet it's not many, but it's probably enough. Wait, can you not see how many tweets you have now? Is that really a thing? That actually, wait, seriously, can you not see how many tweets you've made? Because I'm not seeing it. Is it maybe only in analytics now? Nope. Huh. That's really weird. Maybe in incognito mode? No, it doesn't show number of tweets. I'm really confused by this. I know it used to be there. Alright, anyway, so... Oh god. I just saw... Oh, this is... I'm not going to put it on screen, but I just noticed that hashtag groomers is trending, and yes, it's exactly what you don't want it to be. Oh god. And I just saw something else even cringier. Okay, closing that immediately. So anyway, wow. Sorry, that's cringy. Go to profile and scroll down. I did. Yeah, I'm looking at profile. So, I mean, here's my page. It's showing, of course, following and followers counts. I scroll down a bit and it's still tweets. There's the who to follow group, which inevitably is always there. Topics that it thinks that I should care about, and I never will. And then, yeah, I keep scrolling. I don't see it. You say you see it at the top. Yeah, I don't have that. That's interesting. Huh. And I have in... Yeah, everywhere I look, I'm not finding it. Maybe tweets and replies? No? Oh! Oh man, that is... Okay. That is subtle. That is really subtle. Okay. Alright, so to that point, yeah, I'm not going to read back through 955 tweets to figure out what stuff I need to correct, but I'd go back through the last 100 or so, maybe. Truthfully, at some point I should probably go back through and consider nuking the account. Seems like everyone eventually does that at some point or another, so... Alright, anyway, so... Before I forget, just closing a couple of unnecessary windows here, because those don't need to stay open. But yeah, anyway, so enough of that. So anyway, I've seen plenty of opinions about Elon Musk buying into Twitter, and I have thoughts on this, but I'm not sure how many of them I even really have decided how I feel about it. But I do think that this is interesting. I mean, we're talking about one of the more influential social networks, which now has the largest holder of stock is now Elon Musk. He owns roughly 4 times as much stock as Jack Dorsey. He is, without question, one of the people who clearly is a very controversial figure, to put it very kindly. He is now going to have a decision-making process on the board, which also is another thing that, as of just the day that the announcement happened, he was supposedly buying he made a vague commitment that he was going to be a relatively silent owner of that stock. And then the very next day, it's announced that he's going to be on the board. So, you know, that was a pretty short-lived lie. But we now have a person who is a troublemaker. And that's fine. I'm not going to judge against a troublemaker. But we now have somebody who is not always the best person to be making public messages, who sometimes abuses pretty extensively his ability to do so. And he is now going to be not in charge of, but in a very influential position over one of these social networks, in which that is still a widely accepted practice. So yeah, this is going to get weird. It's going to get really weird. And setting aside the things like the theories that he's going to drop all the censorship stuff that people have kind of invented in their heads, the theories that he's going to bring back Trump and all the QAnoners, which, I mean, let's be honest, there is a very real possibility he will bring back Trump. I think a lot of the other people are out. They got banned. Many people got banned for just straight up promoting violence. Let's be honest. A lot of those people are gone no matter what. That's not changing. But I wouldn't put it past Musk to bring back Trump. I wouldn't put it past him to bring back a lot of the other politicians who, you know, whatever it is that whatever rules they broke, I could see him bringing back a lot of the old politicians that also broke various rules. And I could see him rushing to argue for tearing down a lot of the limitations that Twitter did put in place. And at this stage, I gotta be honest, I'm wondering a little bit what Jack Dorsey is thinking. Because here's a guy who ran the company, founded the company, ran the company, and Jack Dorsey is, love him or hate him, he's an idealist. He wanted to open the door for Twitter as a company to travel places that he might not necessarily have taken it. And like he is a true idealist in many, many ways. I can't help but think that at this moment, Dorsey is probably sitting there saying, whoops. Because the man, he's a quirky guy. He's an unusual guy, but I think he wanted something different. Oh, Carson. What is that normal 2% badge under the Twitch tweet? Okay. Let's... I'll bring Twitter back up. Okay. We're just gonna pause that. Okay, so Carson's asking about, if for anyone watching the stream, he's asking about this normal blue badge and then the percentage next to it. I installed this extension. Let's see, what is it called? Let's see, was it that one? Hold on. Let's see. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's called Bot Sentinel. Let's see. I'm pretty sure that's the right one. Yep, that's the right one. So, it's called Bot Sentinel. I'll paste the link into... I don't know if I can. Where do we have... Can we... Wait, can we not copy... How about that? Yeah, here we go. Alright. I'll paste the link into chat for anyone that wants to check it out. But basically what it does is it shows people or accounts that have a reputation, let's say. So here's someone that shows up as satisfactory. There's someone who's normal. People who don't have enough of a history to trigger anything show up as unknown. Let's see, there's definitely gonna be... Yeah, okay, so accounts that seem to be suspicious in some way for posting stuff that is like incendiary or troublemaking or might be bots, they get flagged as disruptive, or pretty sure there were a few others that I've seen, but disruptive seems to be usually the only bad one that's come up. I know I saw somebody pop up in red once, I think. Let's see. Yeah, problematic. I have definitely seen problematic pop up. And I'm not sure how they figured this stuff out, but I know to some extent it's flagging accounts that are that are somehow based on like crap that they're posting, and I think maybe stuff that's getting reported. Let's see. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they're getting the data, but yeah, at a certain point, like this isn't the most helpful thing, because I've definitely looked through some tweets and it's been like, wow, here's somebody who's yelling and screaming like a crazy person, but they show up as normal, or at least satisfactory. And then I've seen a few others where the tweet that comes up totally looks actually pretty normal, and it's someone who is flagged as disruptive. So I don't think it's necessarily the most accurate, but it's a good way of identifying someone who is on the iffy side. They probably can't be entirely trusted to not just be well, troublemakers, problematic, as the thing says. I like how I scroll up and an ad pops up replacing Biden with a giant robot that flops into a mall. That's a real classy moment. So yeah, anyway, handy idea. I don't know if this extension is really worth it, but so far trying it. Oh yeah, I see you asked how does it determine ratings. I know there is something about it examining tweets for the type of language that they're using, but I have a feeling that there's also some like maybe a reporting mechanism or something. I'm not exactly sure. What is this? Stadia World War Z doesn't support crossplay. Not really sure. Is there a reason why that's a big deal? I mean, obviously, games should generally support crossplay. It's better if they do, but oh, I see. So they previously claimed it would launch roughly now, and now they're admitting that it doesn't support crossplay, and they're basically just saying, hey, maybe it'll happen someday. Yeah, okay. That's a bad look. That's a real bad look for them. Yep, first comment calling out that exact thing. That is, that's tough. Man, how... I don't know anything about this game, really. I'm assuming it's popular, but, I mean, it's franchise game, so... movie franchise or book or whatever, but still, franchise game, you'd figure that's probably not the cheapest thing. So yeah, that's a bad look. Also, wait, okay, so here's kind of the question though. Okay, so World War Z on Stadia does not support crossplay at this time. Does it support on all the other platforms? Oh wow, even their description in the Stadia store actually says it supports crossplay. That sucks. It's a pro game? Oh, okay. Wonder if I should check it out just for the hell of it. So, but is there I guess the question though is there crossplay on the other platforms? Because that, I think that determines kind of a lot. Let's see. According to this guy, quote, I fired it up on my Series X just a few minutes ago and was in the full lobby in less than 10 seconds. Crossplay works. There was one Xbox Me, 2 PC, and 1 PlayStation person in my lobby. Yeah. That's oh well, someone tried inviting Xbox, just not crossplay matchmaking. That's disabled. It's crossplay invites to, oh okay, so that's a Stadia player. Man, so I guess either this is a situation where they didn't feel like it was worth implementing on Stadia. They couldn't figure out how to implement it easily on Stadia. Maybe the experience was somehow bad on Stadia, though I'm not sure how that's likely. Or maybe there's some weird edge case where Stadia had some contract deal with them. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, you're confirming it has support on all the other platforms. Quote, you can't release a multiplayer game on Stadia without crossplay. Yeah, at this point that is not the best choice, though. I mean, there are games on Stadia that have and not been crossplay, and they've done just fine. So I'm not sure that that's entirely true. It's just a game that's, as somebody on here said, yeah, that comment near the top, the game's already dead, it's like 3 years old. I mean, that's obviously a crappy comment, that's wrong and dumb, but, you know, it is a risky play to release something that doesn't have a lot of life left, or it's not going to have like a huge deluge of players, and if it's a multiplayer game, like, yeah, that's gonna suck. That being said, it's, you know, it's not like there weren't people playing Dead by Daylight, and that's a pretty old game at this point. There are multiplayer games that you can do just fine on Stadia. Just, you know, you're not necessarily going to get a killer huge group of players, and that's kind of the problem. It's, you really just should have crossplay on everything. Which Dead by Daylight is crossplay on Stadia. Yeah, it definitely was. I could tell that just from the world icons that were next to the names. So yeah, I mean, is this a case of the game publisher or developer deciding it wasn't worth it? Or did they have a specific reason, like some bizarre agreement with Stadia, or maybe an agreement with somebody else that said you can't support Stadia? I doubt that's the case, but hypothetically, if that were a thing. Is this a thing where, honestly, I want to throw this in there, not that I think that this is necessarily the case, but I think it's worth acknowledging there is some possibility that maybe whoever is handling the Twitter account said this not knowing that crossplay would be coming in like a week or something. Not that I think that's the case. I'm not implying it is. But if by some possibility maybe maybe they're working on this and it's actually going to happen really, really soon, but just whoever happens to be running the account was like, yo, I'm just going to say it because today it's true. I don't know what's going on in the future. Maybe that's exactly what's happening. I seriously doubt it. I really do, but I think it's worth acknowledging because holy crap, so many companies have uninformed people on their Twitter accounts. It happens a lot. I would know. So yeah, I would have questions about that. You would just want to buy a PS5 at this point, but don't want to spend $1,000. I mean, doesn't everybody? Well, unless you're an Xbox fan, but yeah, I mean, at this point, so I had this theory a while back. I thought the consoles were basically on their last generation. I wasn't a big pusher of this, and I still kind of think it's true. But I felt for a good long time like the PS4 and the well, whatever generation of Xbox you want to pick from, I felt like they were possibly the last serious generations of consoles. And clearly that wasn't quite right. The PS5 is obviously doing great. The Series X is doing really well. And what's kind of funny is I feel like Stadia just generally kind of failing, and the short, not so inspired progression of things from well, PCs are doing great, but due to the video card situation, I think consoles have now just basically gotten a whole new generation guaranteed to them by virtue of cryptocurrency mining and Stadia just basically failing to grab hold. Consoles did not need to really go beyond this, but if you can't build a good gaming rig because video cards cost too much, and you can't realistically do much else, and Stadia just didn't fly. Like, these things kind of sent people back to consoles that maybe weren't going to go there in the past. That is a weird and unfortunate situation, but I think that's actually kind of where we're at. There's just no way around it. Consoles suddenly became the necessary thing again just because that's the only way people could sometimes get their gaming solution. Man, that's such a bleak thought, but it's kind of true. And in a way, it's good. I mean, cheers. We don't want the gaming industry to be totally at the whim of suddenly cryptocurrency miners ruining the ability to build a machine. We don't want the gaming industry to be totally owned by streaming services like Stadia either. But man, I also did not think that consoles would become the de facto must-have again just because the other industries were, or the other variants of the industries were at like so easily taken down. But hey, it is what it is. David Lama, hopefully they bring more Stadia games. I mean, they're adding games every month, but they're not adding the stuff that people want, or not in large enough doses. Obviously, like, cheers, they've got Far Cry 6 on there. Not like that's brand new or anything anymore, but and that was fun. I'm still debating if that might be a down the road purchase. But yeah, they don't have the major games lined up anymore, or at least it doesn't sound like they do, and that's got to be killing them. The gaming industry is not forgiving, and if you don't have a fairly early release of a game, the only way you're gonna ever be able to sell that game successfully in the future is if you catch it on, like, basically the Game of the Year edition when that comes out, assuming there will be one. And I mean, there usually is with any major game, but yeah, I still think Stadia was a great idea. I think they could still make it really successful, but there's just no shaking it. Even I'll agree. I think at this point it is basically a failed experiment. Technology is still worth it. They still have every potential to make this thing a success in other forms. But yeah, this is just not really going to happen, which sucks. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't have much more to add to that. I can't think of anything else to say, but yeah. Damn, that looks so bad. The game that adds crossplay for every other platform, and then they're like, oh, there's that Stadia thing. Nope. Just not gonna happen. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. That is my extremely terrible Dana Carvey doing George Bush. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Actually, wait, was that? Yeah, that was, I think, George Bush Sr. that he was impersonating. That is a old reference. Old Saturday Night Live reference. I'm thinking hardly anyone would understand. Um, let's see. So, what else? Were there any other things happening this week? I don't honestly like. This week kind of got dominated by the Elon Musk Twitter thing. And then I think a few other interesting things happened, but not necessarily that great of things. So I'm doing the lame thing where I'm just gonna quickly scroll down The Verge, and I'm not even gonna read it, but I'm just gonna say I don't care what this is. Screw this. No to Zuckbucks. Not happening. I will find a way to make this not happen. Let's see. Creators say Instagram is cutting Reels payouts. Call me shocked. Wait, actually, what is this about? Because I don't know how many people even remember my rant about TikTok from several weeks ago, but very seriously, I feel like this is going to become the new narrative. Is every major service except YouTube, I think, is going to be cutting money to creators. So creators making money through Instagram Reels say their payouts have been slashed in recent weeks and the target metrics for monetization have ballooned. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought was going to happen. So the point that I made when I talked about this before is if you follow anybody on another platform, you should probably expect to see a lot of those people dropping off those platforms, because like in the case of TikTok, what ends up happening is as more and more people start making money off of TikTok, they're basically cannibalizing the same pool of money from everybody else, because TikTok really does not increase that pool of money very much or very often. So in all likelihood, anyone who was making really good money a year ago is going to be making a lot less money this year, and next year it's going to get even worse. So progressively, all these people are going to be making less and less money, and as a result, people who were just making it or were making it well enough, but at a certain point are now just kind of like breaking even on their work, a lot of those people are all going to be looking at these platforms and saying, well, we don't really need to stay here. We could start making better money somewhere else. So they're going to rush to whatever the next platform is, or in some cases they're going to go back to YouTube, where no denying the payouts are lower because there has been a drop in the number of people actively living on YouTube. Sorry, I mean that as in consumers, people who watch stuff. The people who obsessively watch a bunch of stuff on YouTube, that number is dropping off at least somewhat, because a lot of those people started watching TikTok instead. But yeah, this I think is going to have a similar effect. If people can't make money off of Instagram, Facebook, which is a thing technically, TikTok and elsewhere, if people try and if they're not being successful, they're not making money, they're gonna move, and where they move to, I think, is going to be a big factor, or whoever can offer them a good experience. So let's see. Apple's adding iPhone X True Depth camera repair option. Don't care. Instacart claims that it'll now protect workers' tips. Okay. Yeah. I'm not seeing a lot of really interesting stuff. This feels like another week that just may not have really been that spectacular. By the way, calling 15-minute warning. just to say that. let's see. Of course, got to have a couple of editorials about Elon Musk. Yeah, really not the most exciting of weeks. So while I give an opportunity for possibly other topics to be suggested, and I'll scroll this a little bit as I'm talking, I think it is worth quickly hitting this weekend. Probably going to be playing Control. In all likelihood, I think finishing Control. I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling I'm approaching the end of the game. Maybe? I don't know, but we'll find out. As previously mentioned, I'll be recording a Tech Tales with Corbin, so we'll have that going on. Episode, I assume, will probably be out about a week after, because I don't think he has anything else lined up, so he'll probably be trying to get that out quicker. Let's see. What else is going on? Oh, like I said, I'll be working on taxes. I don't want to be working on taxes. I hate taxes. Taxes suck so much. Did any of the new Stadia Pro games interest me? That's actually a good, kind of a good question and a good sideline topic, because I have not actually gone in to claim any of them yet. So really quick, let's pop in and do that, and okay, I'm thinking it's more than just these three, isn't it? Especially because I thought that one, Wise 9 or Yeast 9, I don't know, whatever, Monstrum Nox. Anyway, I thought that was already on Stadia Pro. Okay, let's hop into the store. I think you can see all of the. Actually, I'm sure you can. Also, I need to look at the sale just to see if there's anything in that too. Okay, where is our Stadia? Oh, not the deals. Oops. Nope. Back. Try this again, but do it right. Stadia Pro games. Okay, so we have City of Legends, The Curse of the Crimson Shadows. I have no idea what this is. There's World War Z Aftermath. Oh, yikes. Okay. No, not interested in City of Legends. So, World War Z Aftermath. I know first-person shooter. Nice how they're going full artwork and not any gameplay shots. I'll claim all this stuff later. So, World War Z, I might check it out just because. That would make a lot of sense. Chicken Police, paint it red? Oh yeah, no, not this. I don't do those games. I don't even know anything about the Wise series. Looks kind of like Final Fantasy, but ugly. Is that it? Seems like that's it. Okay. All right. So the answer to the question is maybe World War Z, I guess. Pro sub is so bad. It's not that bad. It's just not good enough. Because the game selection is the game selection on Stadia overall is still too limited. I feel like Pro wouldn't be bad. They just need to have the right games coming in. Like I said before, the fact that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is not going to come to Stadia Pro, like, what am I supposed to say about that? Or sorry, not Stadia Pro. I mean Stadia at all. What am I supposed to say to that? I want to play it. I do. But if I can't play it on here, I don't know that I'm going to have... Well, I guess they're probably going to do a Mac version. If they do a Mac version, I'm pretty sure I'll have a machine capable of playing that, so I might actually still do that. But, yeah, I mean, it's just... Oh, you know what? That actually raises an interesting question. The Epic Games Store, because Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is supposed to come to that, right? Like, that's going to be the exclusive thing. Did they say if it's... Do they say yet? Oh, Windows only. Interesting. So 2K decided not to do Mac or Stadia. That is yikes. I wonder why. Or I wonder if they're going to change their minds on this. Carson, PS4. Do you mean, like, is there anything I'm going to switch to for PS4 for the next game? Possibly. I don't know. I haven't looked at PS4 games to play in a while, but I want to. The only thing that kind of sucks is obviously the PS4 is also not getting a whole lot of new releases now. They're still getting some, for sure. They're still getting some, but it's not like overwhelming numbers. Oh, isn't Tiny Tina's Wonderlands on PS4? Well, golly gee, I have no idea. Let's see, the official site. It's just go to buy now. Oh, it is. Not gonna lie, a part of me is really reluctant to do that though. The biggest reason I'm reluctant to consider the PS4 is I'm a little afraid that it's gonna be kind of the same situation that happened with Cyberpunk, where the previous generation consoles got Cyberpunk, but performance was not good. The graphics were turned all the way down. I mean, if they do that kind of thing, that's not a good scenario. You know what I mean? Like that quickly becomes the, oh, hey, you should have not bought it here, you should have bought it somewhere else kind of situation. Or just not buy it at all and go get it either from another store or wait until you can afford the console, whatever the case. Like, I'd be a little concerned that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands on PS4 and Xbox One would not be a good experience. So yeah, that's my concern there. I can't believe they're not doing a Mac version. I'm just saying that the number of Mac users is increasing. You'd think that they would kind of catch on to that. I'm now very curious. Huh. Okay, I'm just clicking through different countries because I noticed, so they show Epic Games Store, here is the source of it, but if you scroll all the way down, Steam is here in their lower list. A little curious about that. Wonder why. Was it an accident to include the Steam logo, or are they selling it in like certain countries on Steam but not others? Kind of want to know. David, you're sure it'll come to Mac? So am I. Just, well, I think it will, but how long? Is this going to be one of those things where they wait like 6 months? Is there some sort of exclusive attached to this? Is there maybe like a friendly deal between some companies to not put it on Mac for a while? I mean, with Epic being who they are and their current feelings towards Apple, maybe that's a factor. Maybe it won't be until the game reaches Steam in 6 months or a year or however long it takes. Maybe that's when they'll release the Mac version, because Epic maybe is trying to tell companies not to do a Mac version for right now, because Apple and Epic are still not on friendly terms. Hopefully not as long as it took to do crossplay with the last game. Yeah. My hunch, such as it is, my hunch is this is probably, they'll probably come out with a Mac version at either 6 months or 1 year. And I think it's going to be exactly that. It's probably tied to some sort of exclusivity deal with the Epic Games Store, or it might be a thing that they'll do as like a sort of honorific, kind of like on an anniversary they'll make a point of releasing to the anywhere that they haven't already released to, which means it'll probably then show up on Stadia too. Which Carson, does Borderlands 3 have crossplay now? Finally, yes it does. Actually, it's had it now for quite a while. It was, well, I say quite a while. I think it was, what, near the end of last year? Pretty sure it was around the end of 2021. Maybe it was earlier than that, but not by a ton. But yeah, I think they've had it for like 4 to 6 months. Actually, I guess Borderlands 3 crossplay. Oh, June. Okay. So June of 2021. That's longer than I thought, but hey, yeah. Anyway, adding it was long and ridiculously overdue. Not that it really mattered to me. I never seem to really play multiplayer, but or not much. But yeah, they should have absolutely added this a lot sooner. Any game that has a good multiplayer experience of any sort really should just launch with crossplay. I think it's pretty sad that they don't. But yeah, so anyway, man, I do agree though, Stadia in general, and definitely Stadia Pro, it's not that good of a deal. Not anymore. I feel like it was at one time. It was all right, but now they got to do it better. Man, they really got to do better. Out of curiosity, any Stadia Pro deals? Wait, what? That's it? Jedi Fallen Order, which I guess this is all stuff you can play on Stadia Pro already. And if you just want to buy it, I assume on your way out. So Ultimate Sale, what do they have in here? Destiny 2, woo. Dead by Daylight Ultimate Edition, a little expensive for that. Mortal Kombat 11. Gotta admit, sometimes I do kind of want to tinker with Mortal Kombats again. Yeah, no, nothing here jumping out at me. Really? Why do they call this the ultimate sale? The ultimate sale includes 12 games. And actually some of these are not even separate games. This is like 2 different versions of Destiny 2 The Witch Queen. How do you call that? Wait, what? Carson, how does mine have those percentage off badges? That's not from that extension, no. Now this should just be a Stadia thing. Do you not have these? Because I don't think I'm pretty sure you don't have any other extensions that have anything to do with Stadia. Do I? I'm looking. I don't think I have any Stadia related extensions. I don't see any. I have too many extensions installed, but I actually have a ton of them installed but disabled. But yeah, I don't see any Stadia related anything. And everything I'm looking at, it's all stuff I know what it should be doing, and none of them should be doing that. Oh, okay, you see it on yours now. Okay. I would have sworn they already had these, but maybe not. But yeah, it's definitely a thing that you need. Like, if people can see how big of a markdown something is, that's pretty motivating. That being said, like, it makes things marginally more tempting, but not tempting enough. There's really nothing in this store that's, or at least nothing in the sale that jumps out at me as worthy. Which really just, again, like, I want Stadia to do well. I want to see it succeed, but I'm not seeing a future where that happens. Elemental War 2. I'm just curious, what is this? Is this like, what is this? A tower defense? Yep. Tower defense with what, kind of like a first person or over the shoulder kind of quality to it. Something. I don't know. It actually kind of looks neat. They need to make the graphics better, but hey, whatever. Yeah, they just needed to do Stadia better. They needed to do it so much better than they did. It's a shame. It had potential. They missed it. One of these days I should do... Oh wait, I can't even do crowd play. That's right. I could do it, but not without playing on PC, which is dumb. Oh my god. So many missed opportunities. They missed every opportunity with Stadia. It's amazing. They needed to launch features earlier. They needed to get more games involved, which understandably, I get why that one is a lot harder. That's asking a lot in some cases, but man, they needed a different push. They needed a better push. They needed to really get streamers really involved in Stadia. And some of their unique features were there. They could have done it, and then they didn't. I'm still baffled that they never introduced, I had this idea for how they could do streaming so well on YouTube, and they never did it. I still think that all they needed to do was have people set up a webcam and basically stream just your webcam view up, and like they could, on their side, they do the encoding to put your webcam view on top of the game. And easy solution, easy fix. They could have implemented it in a shockingly small amount of time, but no, they didn't do it. They screwed the pooch so much on this. Let's see. David saying, just frustrating to see Google push play games and let Stadia sit idle. I agree, but I still look at that and I think that that's a left hand and right hand are not connected sort of situation. I don't think that was an example of Google abandoning Stadia. I think it's an example of they had a group that was tasked with promoting play games, and that same group has no connection to Stadia. And so when they had their opportunity, they got up, they presented play game stuff. Why the Stadia group didn't do this, I don't know. But it is what it is. Carson, they had you convinced at GDC 2019. Me too. I mean, their launch event, or their announcement event, not the launch event, but the announcement event, when they first showed it off, they had all these cool features implemented already that they didn't launch for, in some cases, like 2 years. I was convinced that they were going to do so much more with this, so much faster. And I mean, I certainly criticized them for not launching better or handling the process better, but I still had some faith that they'd get there. And they just never really did. David, remember when they did a whole game studio to show they were committed? Yep. And then they killed it, which proved they should have been committed. Sorry. I know that joke is too easy, but it's deserved. It's so deserved. How they... This is one of those things. I think back to... I'm betting no one has ever seen this, but there was a show years ago called Sports Night. It was a two-season show created by Aaron Sorkin. Of course, Aaron Sorkin, who created The West Wing, several others. Obviously pretty well-known showrunner. Anyway, very near the... I was about to say very near the end of the series. Not only was it very near the end of the series, it was actually like the second to last scene on the final episode. But this guy who would later go on to play Agent... Oh, what was his name? He's in the Avengers, mostly the Avengers movies. He's Agent Coulson, I think. Anyway, same actor. But at one point, as I guess spoiler alert for a show that was on over 20 years ago. But spoiler alert, he is the rich guy who's about to buy this cable network, and he's talking with the person who basically runs the sports show, and she's freaking out, or had been freaking out, because she didn't know why he would be buying, and she thought that he was going to, or not him specifically, but he thought that the side effect of the show, or of the cable network being purchased, was that the show would get canceled. And he had this great line, just phenomenal line, that to quote, "Anyone who can't make money on Sports Night should get out of the money-making business." And that line sticks with me so well because I've seen just failure after failure in the tech industry. Like, things that there is no way they should possibly fail end up failing. And it's always because of some gross mismanagement, or it's because some company tried to launch a product without enough money, or they thought they were going to be overnight successes, or they didn't understand how hard a thing was. Like, let's be honest, every company that has tried starting up and doing a phone, get real, you're not going to be a hit. Samsung already owns this industry basically, and there are a couple of other competitors who stay up because they are big businesses that can basically afford to just lose money on making phones. I'm sorry, but get real. Like, there are some things that don't make it because you just cannot invest enough money into them. And even if you invest literally billions of dollars, you probably are still going to fail because you have to make back so much. It like in lost, just by virtue of being so late to a market. Hell, OnePlus has the blessing of China behind it, and even they cannot get more than a just really, really tiny dent in the US market. But then you look at something like Stadia. Even now, by any objective measure, Google has the best technology. There's no question to this. Anyone who has tried multiple services, with the notable exception of people where their access to the Stadia servers, like, they just have a terrible connection. And it's not necessarily that their individual connection is bad, but they might be on the unfortunate thing where they just have a really bad connection to Stadia servers. If those people, or if anyone else is comparing Stadia to any of the other services, everyone's in agreement. Stadia is still by far the best performer. So, and it's part of it is Google just investing more in the infrastructure. Part of it is the technology is better, and there is no question the technology is better. And Google had it. Of course, I knew I was going to trigger. Whoa, what the hell? I wish I could show you guys what just happened on my phone. I drug from the I did the back gesture by dragging from the side, and for whatever reason, it took the card from the Google Assistant listening screen, and it slid it over to the side, and it just got stuck there for several seconds. Very weird. Anyway, so yeah, you look at what Google did, and don't get me wrong, I think they were up against one particular challenge: getting game companies to ship games onto a platform that they don't know that they're going to be able to make their money back. Google had to pay a crap load of money to get some of those games to ship. I think they chose the wrong games to pay money for. I think their investment in getting the Resident Evil games was a huge mistake. I think there were other games that they should have been funding instead. But I don't know. Maybe they did okay on those. Maybe not. Anyway, when all is said and done, I think they created something that was good. They had the potential to create more. They literally had a game studio that was on the way to making exclusive games, though, to be fair, we don't know if those were any good or not. The only way you fail on something is if you fail big, in this kind of case. Like, Google failed so big They didn't have to fail this big. And, you know, Google is obviously in the money-making business. They make good money. But man, how do you... If somebody can't make money off of Stadia and they have the money to invest in making it happen, there's no way it wasn't going to happen. But they found a way. That's what really, really feels just so bad about this. They could have done this and they didn't. So yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it, man. They did so bad with it. Yeah. So let's see. No other topics have popped up, and I don't think I can crap on Stadia for a whole lot longer. And I don't even want to. Like, I don't want to crap on Stadia, but at the same time, like, how did they get to this place where they couldn't succeed in an objectively easy thing to succeed at? Well, I say objectively easy. That's not entirely fair. They definitely... It's not an easy win, but they had room to make it happen, and they just didn't. So, I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it. And it's not like they've completely given up on the project. You can tell because they keep getting new games. They're usually not very many or very good, but they keep getting new games. Stadia Pro is still getting stuff. Like, things are happening. But it just seems like they put this thing into a nosedive and they just haven't hit ground yet. I just don't get it. Yeah, so anyway, let's see what else is going on. There's a thing tomorrow I can't tell anyone about. It's not that exciting of news. Just, I know there's a thing tomorrow. David, if they just handed out games like Epic has been doing for years, I don't think that... I mean, they kind of did. Epic handed out a lot of games, but so did Stadia. I mean, again, here's the Stadia Pro games. Like, this is not a short list, and Epic handed out, honestly, a lot of real junker games in the same time. Which actually, I guess, reminds me, I don't know that I claimed the last week's game. So, really quick, City of Brass and Total War Warhammer. Yeah. Probably never gonna play either one, but hey, we'll quickly claim those because why wouldn't we? Carson, do I use Google Wi-Fi? Yes, I do. I would like to not. Let's see. Yeah, I use Google Wi-Fi because, well, for a few reasons, but I wanted to try it out. I had an opportunity to buy into it as kind of a test, and in theory it was kind of semi-paid for. Oh, oops, did I just screw up that? I don't know, it registered. So, the thing about Google Wi-Fi, and the reason I don't want to use it, is if your internet connection ever goes down, Google Wi-Fi basically becomes broken, busted, and borderline useless. And that sucks. I don't like that. it is an actual definitive problem with Google Wi-Fi. So much so that it's actually kind of hard to fix issues if the issue is not just that your internet has gone down. So yeah, I'd like to get onto some other solution. Yeah. I don't think that they made the right product, is kind of what I'm saying. It's an okay product, but it's not the right product. So yeah, if Google makes another Nest Wi-Fi or anything like that, I'm not going to be buying it. Because this whole thing where you have to use an app that connects to a remote service, and the service then makes changes to your Google Wi-Fi. That's not a good solution for something that has to happen locally. I'm okay with it connecting to a remote service. That's not an issue with me. But I have an issue with the fact that your configuration has to happen through that. Because it doesn't work if you lose internet. So, yeah, they need to fix that design decision. It's a legitimately really bad decision. David asks, what's the plan for this weekend? I'm not sure, maybe you weren't around, I said it earlier, but in all likelihood, I'm going to wrap up. Well, I don't know if wrap up is the right word, but I'm gonna stream Control. I assume it's pretty close to the end of the game. I don't know for sure, but I feel like I probably have most of the powers I'm gonna get. I know I've uncovered most of the maps at this point. It's probably just a few more side missions. Probably, I'm guessing a few more hits on the major bosses, and a little bit more storyline. Sorry, when I say a few more hits on the major bosses, I mean like I have a feeling like a few mini bosses, and then probably gonna go take on the big boss, which I have a feeling is probably doable within the next 8 hours of play. So I have a feeling the game will get wrapped up this coming weekend. Okay, so Carson, what would you want to try if your internet were to go down? Isn't that usually an issue with the ISP end? So yes, it's normally an issue with the ISP's end, but when I say making configuration changes or doing anything, if your internet goes down, this is going to sound so weird because it shouldn't be true, but it is. If your internet connection goes down with Google Wi-Fi, you start having weird issues even between devices on Wi-Fi. Like, sometimes they won't connect to each other or can't connect to each other. Now, this isn't a huge problem very often, but it does happen. So for example, and I wish I was kidding, if my Wi-Fi goes down, or sorry, if my internet connection goes down, Wi-Fi remains up, but if internet connection goes down, like my Plex server, sometimes my Shield cannot connect to the Plex server. True story. It doesn't usually happen, but if like the Plex server has to be restarted, which bear in mind, if my internet goes down, chances are it's because the power also went out. Not always, but the two typically do come together. So if my Plex server goes down and my Android TV devices go down and have to be restarted, they probably lost the little bit of internal routing information in order to reach the Plex server. And Google Wi-Fi is weirdly bad at handling this. So I've actually seen where it can take 20-30 minutes territory for it to recognize and start letting Android TV start talking to the Plex server again. This kind of stuff shouldn't happen. This shouldn't require an external connection, but it does. Google Wi-Fi has problems with this very specific scenario. So yeah, I don't want to use it anymore. Not if I don't have to, but right now it's too expensive to switch. And what I switched away from prior to Google Wi-Fi, I was actually using Apple Airport Extremes. And anyone who knows that they do not make these or support these anymore. The Airport Extreme was a admittedly overpriced, but fantastic. Honestly, it was a really good Wi-Fi solution. Admittedly, they had a bit of a problem due to their app solution too, but it wasn't that bad. They were just annoying because you had to use an app that only ran on Apple products, either iPhones, iPads, or Macs, in order to do configuration. And I think they later eventually did ship a Windows config tool. But anyway, not the best Wi-Fi router, but they were pretty good. And they handled multi-point really well. These days, I don't know who I would go with, or if I would stick with mesh network versus regular. There are benefits to both. And I would still probably go wired, regardless. But still. Anyway, yeah, I would like to get away from the Google Wi-Fi. Sorry. So yeah, that's the reasoning. Oh, forgot to change scene back. But yeah, so let's see. I would say successfully cleared the 15-minute warning, and no other topics have been brought up. And I think I've probably exhausted the talk of games since. And I've scrolled down a little bit more, and I don't really see any new topics. I will quickly note WWDC 2022 is happening June 6th, so that... Honestly, maybe this isn't fair, but I feel like I'm expecting a really quiet year for Apple's announcement, at least the WWDC announcement. The one thing I think I'm hoping for is maybe they'll have some big macOS updates, but I don't know. I will say I am very much looking forward to their developer API stuff this year. What they might be doing with the Swift language. I've been writing a bit of Swift lately, actually a lot more Swift lately. I'm hoping that they have some neat stuff coming for programming. I know most people aren't necessarily super excited by that, but I am. Let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, I'm skimming over headlines and it's like, nope. There is just not a ton happening. Suddenly I'm very curious about an email I got. Not that any of you guys would care, but is this particular thing under embargo or not? Oh, crap. Are they serious with this? Okay. So the thing I'm looking at, it is no longer, or it is not under embargo. It was announced 2 days ago. DJI released a microphone. Oh, it's Okay, it's that one. It's their dual wireless microphone system. Ooh, I wonder if I can get that for review. Anyway, I wanted to see what the announcement date was, and as I'm scrolling down, I saw this thing cost $329, which at first I just knew it was a microphone. I didn't know it was a dual wireless mic system. So yeah, the price makes sense, but man, when I saw that, it's like, what the hell is DJI doing charging that much for a single microphone? Carson, RCS? Did something happen with RCS? I honestly did not hear anything about RCS lately. So quickly searching news. Jessica Gupta joins RCS Board of Education. I'm thinking that's not the same RCS we're looking for. Oh, like RCS for iPhones? Oh, you're hoping Apple announces RCS support at WWDC. They won't. I'd be ready to bet money on that. At a bare minimum, I'm saying they won't. Not even necessarily because Apple won't support RCS, but because they're not going to announce it at WWDC. If they're going to announce something at WWDC, it will not be a feature of a phone, because as far as they're concerned, RCS is a phone feature. It's not going to be a feature of a phone that they would really only want to announce alongside the release of a phone. They're not going to want to hype up RCS. If anything, they're actually going to want to downplay RCS unless they figure out a way or decide to push the narrative that RCS is only happening through iMessage, but still. Yeah, they definitely announced iOS features at WWDC, but this is the kind of thing that they're going to save it for the iPhone announcement, if they're going to do that. Because they're not going to want to pre-announce RCS. I think they're going to want to... they're going to want to save that for when they can basically release and say, yep, it's a thing that's happened. Though, I guess there is a possibility that what they might do is announce RCS support, but not ship it for like 3 to 6 months. The reason I think they might do that is... The reason I could see them doing that is because they would want the news of RCS to happen, and then for the attention on that to die down, and then when they do finally launch it, it would give them the opportunity, or when it finally launches, people won't care. It won't be big news anymore once they launch it. I could see that being a strategy. I don't think that's what they'll do, but I could see that happening. Wow, that was something. I just barely bumped my headphone cable. The headphone cable twisted a little bit and even more barely nudged my display cable, and all of a sudden my display cut out, which is scary because anytime that happens when it's connected to this laptop, things get real unstable real quick. Everything will usually go fine, but every once in a while, all of a sudden, the laptop will just reboot. Or not reboot, but like core dump. So that hopefully doesn't happen. If it does, I will suddenly go offline very quickly. Seeing as this is probably basically the end of the show, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But hey, we're aware of this as a possible reality. So yeah, anyway, I would love to see them announce RCS. I just don't think it's going to happen at WWDC. I can see that potential. Now that I'm picturing the strategic value of doing that, maybe it makes sense. But yeah, I'm skeptical. I'm highly skeptical. I just don't feel like they want to do an announcement of RCS at WWDC. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. So yeah, and other than that, I don't know that I know what I really expect. I think, doesn't Apple have, I think they at this point need to do updates probably on like HomePod, HomeKit stuff. I'd be really surprised if they don't have some coverage of that at WWDC. They probably, I want to say they're due to have some stuff for Apple TV, but the more I think about it, well, maybe the Apple TV hardware, but I don't, at this point, I feel like Apple TV is just, again, kind of getting second fiddle. I don't think they care that much about it, or it just doesn't seem like they do. And I can kind of understand why. I mean, it's squarely, what, 5th place? Roku, Android TV, Fire TV, and I think Samsung, well, I guess that wouldn't count necessarily, but Android TV, Roku, and Fire TV, all three of them are just absolutely decimating Apple's market share on TVs. So I do think that's the project that they're not going to kill, but they're also not going to keep alive, so to speak. Like, they're just not, I think they're not going to try that hard with Apple TV. Now, the streaming service itself, obviously, they're pumping money into that left and right. And they're doing well, obviously. But yeah, I would not make any bets on their hardware. I think at this stage, they're probably just going to do silent updates on the Apple TV device. Let it kind of ruminate for a while, and then one of these days they'll come back and try to give it a big, like, hey, all you people that really, really still pay attention and want something like this, here's our new great cool thing. Are we sure Apple TV Plus is doing well? I don't, okay, my answer to that is I don't think it's, okay, I have no idea, and I'm not making any guesses about how profitable it is. That I think is a big, huge question mark. We have no idea how profitable it is. In fact, if I were to really guess, I would say it's probably not profitable, but I don't think it needs to be for a long time. And I want to come back to that, but I don't think it needs to be right now. But it is clearly doing well enough that they have confidence and are willing to keep just pouring money. For example, this just came up pretty recently. Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Apple TV Plus. Yeah, I knew that this was a thing. So For in case anyone missed this one, and wow, this was just a week ago. Yeah, Apple TV Plus is going to pay $100 million to get Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson onto something that's called Project Artemis. I mean, they're pouring money into getting two people onto. I think it's still unknown if this is a TV show or a movie, but still, like, they're dumping money into all of this stuff, and for all the, like, the amount of money that they're spending tells me that they still believe in this as a thing. Now, whether or not that makes it successful, that's debatable, but it at least has enough people paying attention to it that it is attracting attention. Also, bear in mind that they just had a movie, Coda, which won an Oscar. For what it's worth, I honestly think it was a bit of a token win. I don't know much about it. I just read a few details. It kind of sounded like it might have been a token win. Maybe it's actually an excellent movie. I don't know. I have not watched it. I haven't even watched a trailer for it. I'm just saying there are elements that make it sound like it might not have won entirely based on the quality of the movie. But, and yeah, they have won awards on some of their other shows and movies. They've obviously had some very high notoriety movies since they keep paying Tom Hanks to show up. Even though I would argue both of the movies that he has done for Apple TV were also meh. I watched them both. They're fine. They're fine. That's about it. They're just fine. But yeah, the thing is, like, they're still making shows that people are interested in or paying some attention to. For anyone who hasn't seen C, it is pretty well done. I can see why it's not necessarily a hit show, but it is a pretty well done show. I haven't watched the morning show yet, but I heard it's really good. Obviously Ted Lasso is huge, so at a bare minimum it is at least successful. It's at least that much successful. Is it Mythic Quest? Yeah, Mythic Quest. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Mythic Quest yet, aside from a couple of the episodes that go a little too far off the rails, which, let's be honest, has a very community feel to it, it is a really good show. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty entertaining. Plus, they got the voice actress for Tiny Tina, Ashley Birch, which is just awesome. It is. Yeah, I mean, it is a really good show, and I've been enjoying it. So I think they're doing well enough. And here's why I say it doesn't have to be necessarily making money or successful. Any streaming service, with the notable exceptions of streaming services that launched from companies that already had huge content collections, any streaming service that is basically just kicking off, that is still fledgling, new, kind of fresh to the scene, they're not going to have a huge library. They just aren't. It's a common sense reality. Like when Netflix started as a thing that sold or that rented out other companies' content. And eventually they said, let's start making content of our own. And I mean, come on, they didn't exactly start with very good content of their own. But over time, Netflix built a library. now, I mean, should somebody watch Netflix just for what Netflix created? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I'll leave that one up to any particular person. But you know, they make some really good stuff, and they make a lot of very okay stuff. But as a lot of people would say, Netflix isn't exactly winning any super premium awards lately either. HBO, they had a huge back catalog of their own stuff. Amazon had to kind of start in an awkward position of selling mostly other people's content, and then progressively they made their own stuff. So I look at Apple TV Plus and I think, yeah, here's a service that is, they're starting out largely positioning other people's stuff and trying to make things of their own. And the things of their own, like, they just started in turn, like, in the scale of streaming networks. They're joining this fray long after everybody else. And if we're holding up Apple's catalog in terms of quality versus what everyone else started with when they started doing this stuff, with obvious exceptions of like HBO, where that's a different story. HBO was already making tons of their own content long before they ever made a streaming service. But if you hold Apple up against Netflix and Amazon and a few of the others, when you look at what their original stuff was, or their first attempts at original stuff, and then compare it to what Apple's doing, honestly, Apple's making way better stuff. Their shows are leagues above what Netflix and Amazon and a few others started with. So, is it a profitable thing today? No. I mean, it might be, but I doubt it is. The odds of it being profitable today are next to none. But in, I don't know, 5 years, once they've built up that big back catalog that makes people who've never subscribed to Apple TV Plus before, when those people sit down and finally say, all right, I'll subscribe, and they start looking through the library and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, Mythic Quest sounded fun. I remember hearing about that. I think I'll watch that. And then they start watching through 30 or 40 other shows that have been built up over time, and a bunch of movies that are exclusive and everything else. Before long, you have someone who's like, you know, I'm just going to maintain this subscription for 6 months or a year, because it's just going to take that long for me to get through all of the stuff. And by that time, more stuff comes out. That's how you become a successful streaming company. It's something that I think objectively Peacock needs to learn, because they're not building a very good back catalog. And funny enough, they even had the content to start with a pretty rich back catalog, and they didn't even use it correctly. You can look to what's the other one? I can't think of the name of it. Oh well, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's my thinking on this. I do believe Apple is, they're just starting from a position that could never have looked good. There's no way that they were going to be hugely profitable out of the gate, because they had to build up a lot of this stuff, and they had to cast people at kind of really high prices, and you know, they have to work to get there. But once they're there, it will get a lot easier. It will actually get cheaper, in the sense that it's going to cost them, or once they have a lot of their production all ironed out, a lot of this stuff is going to cost them less and less over time. It's still going to be stupidly expensive, but I think they'll be able to have a consistent subscriber base that's just going to stick with them. And that's really, really good for them. It's so good for them. I think Apple TV Plus is, like, honestly, I think it's going to out. I don't want to predict the death of any of these companies per se, except maybe Peacock. I would honestly be so surprised if Peacock survives. But I think in several years, no one is going to look at Apple TV Plus and say, yeah, we don't think that's going to live much longer. I don't think anyone's going to say that about Netflix. I don't think anyone's going to say that about Apple TV Plus. I don't think anyone's going to say that about HBO, I think. Obviously, no one's going to say that about Amazon, unless Amazon ends up getting broken up or something. But yeah, I think Apple TV Plus is just going to reach that point where it is just kind of a given. It is just going to be included with the list of all the big players. But the most important thing they can do, I mean, this is just coming from me as an undeniable expert in the field. The most important thing they can do is change the fucking name. Apple TV Plus. Stop making people say that much. That's too many syllables for your stupid streaming network. Apple TV was fine. Hell, well, I was about to say you could call it ATV, but that has an obvious overlap issue with something else. Carson, Apple TV Plus is surviving because Apple has a crap ton of money. Absolutely true. Zero denying this. 100 billion% accurate. Yeah, it's entirely surviving because of that. But the same thing would be said of Hulu. Hulu only survived because it had a crap load of money from 3 TV networks, I think it was. Was it 3? Netflix struggled with money for a good long time in the early days. You can point to a lot of other companies. Oh God, what is that thing? Oh, Disney. Yeah, Disney has a crap ton of money, and they made a streaming network happen kind of out of the blue. Yes, and I'm very well aware they really just repurposed the streaming services that they bought. But, I mean, yeah, you got to have a ton of money to make this stuff happen. There's no avoiding that. It is an expensive world to be doing this stuff in. So, I'll tell you honestly, without question, it is Apple funding this, but I think that still counts. Just because they're probably not actually making money. I just don't think they need to. Someday they will. So, Carson, you bring up no Android app. They do have Android TV app though, right? I'm pretty sure that was a thing. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Man, that score. That's some brutality. I didn't realize it was doing that bad. Oh, apparently lots of network issues. That's kind of brutal. Holy. Okay. Guys. If you're watching the stream, you see what I'm highlighting. Hey, Curvy. How's it going? Honestly, I was gonna close. I thought I was gonna be shutting off the stream like an hour ago, but kind of got sidetracked. So, how are you guys feeling about that? Who knows? Not saying that this is all subscribers, but 5 million plus installs. 5 million plus installs. 5 million plus installs. Think about this for just a second. Apple TV Plus. How much is the subscription? I honestly have no freaking clue. Shouldn't it say somewhere? How much is Apple TV Plus? Wait, really? That's it? Honestly, holy crap. I thought it was more than that. Okay, I probably did scroll past it, but oh well. So $5 a month. Actually, it's probably even in this description. I just didn't think to look. Oh, wait, I don't see it. So, all right. Anyway, so at $5 a month, just as a hypothetical. Just a hypothetical. So if well, how am I going to say this? So figure this is a grossly low percentage, but hypothetically, if only 1% of the installs to Android TV, not counting Apple TV devices or people using an iPhone or people on Roku, because I believe you can also use this on Roku, and I'm assuming maybe Fire TV also. I mean, we're just talking about Android TV devices. If only 1% of those 5 million installs, and again, this is 5 million plus, so who knows, maybe it's way above this. But if only 1% were subscribing, it's $250,000, which is chump change. That's garbage, obviously. That totally irrelevant. But 1% would also be the worst imaginable turnover ever. That would be a horrendously bad turnover. In reality, I'm gonna guess it's probably closer to 20% ish. So just on Android alone, that would imply that they're getting about 5 million a month. Maybe it's not 20%. Let's go to 10%. At 10%, if only 10% of those downloads have been subscribing, that means they're still making $2.5 million a month. That's not a lot. It's, again, chump change. But we're talking about one platform, clearly not even the preferred platform, just on Android TV, not on Android phones. Also, obviously, not counting in Apple TV itself, people who watch on the website, of which there are many, people who are watching on their phones or tablets, not counting Roku users, just Android TV. So you know the number's higher than this, just in general. If they're making that money, like, it's not enough to cover all the shows that they're making. It's not enough to pay all the celebrities that they have cast. Obviously, I'd be surprised if 2.5 million is even covering. Let's see, 2.5 million. That's not even going to cover an episode. Well, that might cover Ted Lasso, like an episode of Ted Lasso. I'm actually genuinely curious, just for discussion's sake. And IMDb usually doesn't have this information visible anymore, but just out of curiosity, do they mention budget? They don't. Okay. Cost per episode. Oh, wow. I honestly kind of thought some of those people were going to cost more than that. So, okay, if it's 250 to 300,000 per episode, I guess that gets in there. So, all of their top tier shows, if all of them are running roughly similar, I guess all their top tier shows probably would be covered by their yearly subscription. Honestly, I don't think they're making money, but I don't think they're losing money. And yes, Apple funded a crap load of it. No question. Apple is keeping this thing going. But I don't think they're doing bad. I think that this is just going to keep getting better for them. Because as that library builds up, as, you know, people who didn't really care to jump on a show right away, today they don't care. But in 2 or 3 years, once you've got a nice little backlog of, chances are if you're watching Ted Lasso, you'll also stop off and watch the morning show. Fair chance that you'll watch Mythic Quest. You might kick around and watch some of the movies. And then they're obviously going to be launching new shows. Maybe, I don't know if it'll be a show or not, but again, they're paying $100 million to Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson for Project Artemis. I see a number like that, and all I can think is either this is a TV series, or that's multiple movies. It feels unlikely that they're going to be giving $100 million split between both of them, unless they're going to get quite a lot out of it. But I think Apple's doing probably pretty well. Apple TV Plus subscriber count? Any chance? Number of okay, as of March 2022, they have an estimated 25 million subscribers. I mean, if that's accurate, let's see. Okay, if with normal credit card transaction fees, we're gonna have to assume Google is taking, I don't know if Google's taking the full amount, but let's say hypothetically they're taking 15%, I guess. Roku might have some cut of this, I don't know. Amazon is definitely taking at least 15%, probably more. Apple itself, kind of wish I knew how this was split up, but my guess, they're probably going to be making, because they're obviously, for them it's going to be much lower. I'm going to guess, oh, you're right, you probably can't subscribe on Android TV. You probably have to, oh wait, hold on. Play Store entry does say they have in-app purchases. I don't know what that purchase is for, but because they say you can try premium channels, buy or rent movies, it's possible that the subscription is only through the website, and you can get the premium channels and rent rent or buy movies, that those things might have in-app purchases. I don't know. If you subscribe to any Apple TV channels, payment will be charged to your Apple ID account at purchase. Subscriptions automatically renew until canceled at least 24 hours prior to the end of the billing period. Simultaneous streams are limited on a per subscription basis. Okay, so yeah, this sounds, or this pretty clearly is you have to subscribe through there. Does it give the IAP range? No. At least I don't see one. I think they took that out of the web Play Store, didn't they? Maybe it's still visible through the Android side. So anyway, when I look at this, I'm thinking, okay, so the Apple TV subscription you have to do through the website. And from the way this sounds, Apple TV channels. So I'm guessing that if you're getting premium channels, other streaming services, networks, whatever, those you probably also have to do through the Apple ID. But if you're renting or buying a movie, I guess that happens through Google, which is going to be pretty irrelevant, and it's not actually significant to our discussion. So I'm going to guess Apple's cost in transaction fees is probably only about 5%, give or take. It's actually probably a little less than that, but who cares? Just for easy-ish math, that means if that's true, if they have 25 million subscribers, that means per month. Remember, this is per month. That means that they are dragging in, and I'm factoring in cost of, actually, let's technically make this $4.99. Okay. Per month, presumably that means that they are dragging in somewhere in the neighborhood of $118.5 million per month. So in a year, if that number of subscribers stays steady, they're dragging in about $1.4 billion. If that number is anywhere near accurate. If this is true, they're profitable. There's no way they're spending that on the shows that they're producing currently. Not a chance. Because, I mean, they're definitely doing a fair number of originals, but it's not enough to match that. So I'm going out on a limb right now and just saying Apple is definitely profitable. I honestly, I didn't think it was I didn't think their subscriber count was that high. But, and even if they're making way less because of transaction fees and other stuff like that, they're still making well over $1 billion. And even if you, let's see, I'm just using the calculator thing. Even if you were to knock that down to 20 million subscribers, which that's, I mean, I'm talking, that's on the math that I'm throwing together here, just kind of back of the napkin math. If you knock it down to 20 million subscribers, that's a loss of 20% of their subscribers that are estimated. And you change the transaction fees to be 10%, which is extraordinarily high. I sincerely doubt they're paying that high in transaction fees. Over the course of a year, they're still making over $1 billion. Only by a little bit. It's $1.077 billion. But that's still $1 billion. Worst case scenario, they're only about breaking even. And again, they're building up a back catalog that is going to earn them more subscribers and longer term subscribers in the future, which will cost them nothing when that happens. Obviously, they'll continue making stuff at that point, but that's the thing. You're building up a back catalog. You've got all this content that is worth a lot of money. People want to watch it. Honestly, I'm really surprised Apple's doing as well as they are, assuming that estimate is correct. I was grossly underestimating what their subscriber base was. So, I think they're doing great. That's weird to say. I think they're probably doing great. So, I don't know, guys. I have a feeling now if they would just fix their crappy Android TV app, because evidently it's, I mean, let's be honest. If they're having network issues, you don't get a score of 1.9 just for having some bad network issues over the last few days. Oh, wait, that review was left 6 months ago. That hardly counts. Do we have... let's see. Can we... Yeah. Read all reviews. I don't actually care. I just want to see most recent. Apple's on version 5 currently, stuck on version 3 because every version since the black Apple TV logo in a square from the boot screen sticks on the screen everywhere in the app. Hard to watch anything with an Apple logo in the center of the screen. Oh, pro developers. Pros right there. Let's see. Play stutters. Someone else complaining the app sucks. Design is very basic, clearly needs to be worked on. Videos won't play. Keeps crashing. Yikes. Yeah. Okay. So their app sucks, but the service is profitable. Or at least definitely will be. Man, that's something. Out of curiosity, just to see. Yep. Only available for only available for Android TV so far. Yeah, I gotta say, I did not expect it to be as successful as it was. That surprised even me. And here I am. I'm like, no, they got to be at least like, you know, or they got to be breaking even, right? Nope. They're definitely profitable. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up. I would keep going, but I don't think I can really say too much more, and as it is, I should probably conserve my voice a little bit here. So, with that, thank you everyone for coming and hanging out, being part of the show, chatting with me, keeping me rambling. Again, for the like 4th or 5th time, I will be back this weekend with some game streams. Pretty confident on that, unless I end up really sick or something. Let's see. Again, if anyone would like to support the channel, there are links to Patreon and Streamlabs down below. Always appreciated, never required. And thanks again to David and Diablo for being Patreon subscribers. You guys are awesome. Let's see, my brain is working on the whatever other thing I was going to say, and I'm totally forgetting whatever it was. But, yeah, I will, of course, see you guys in Discord, as usual. And, yeah, that's about it. So, Hope you all have an awesome rest of your weeks. Stay out of trouble, and good night, everybody.